tell me a story about when Sailorism made you a better burner.
Well, there was a lot more water this past year. If you didn't notice.
Welcome to Accuracy Third. I'm Beth.
I'm Rex.
I'm D-Day.
Yay!
And today on Accuracy Third, we have Beth. What do we have, Beth?
Oh, we have two amazing repeat guests here to talk for a very long time about sailing.
One of our...
I'm really selling it, aren't I?
Is this a podcast about Burning Man, or is this a podcast about sailing?
Yes.
Awesome.
This is a podcast about Burning Man, and one of the things that we examine pretty frequently is the cultures that feed the mega culture of Burning Man. We've talked endlessly about theater kids and Ren fairs and the like, but also turns out sailors.
Boatistry.
Specifically sailors of boats with masts and sails and rigging. And
The
stuff.
most ridiculous kind of boat to sail.
Uh-huh. The kind that is quaint and antiquated and no longer needed, but also
Super dangerous.
Probably the future of
Yeah, we're going to need those.
of ocean-bound transport.
Yeah.
When the world ends, all of the petroleum fuel is only going to last 1 to 2 years. We're going to have to be sailing at that point. And this is what you can expect in this episode, which is a very long episode and the last interview of our season.
Yeah, I hope that you guys are listening to this on the road and don't hate the people you're driving with and aren't currently starving or sleepy.
Or have to pee and can't get out and pee.
Yeah, so, buckle up or already be buckled up.
Yeah, and if your car starts to feel like it's a ship on choppy seas, pull over, take a nap. You'll get there.
Also, please remember, the rabbits are cute, but you don't swerve for them.
No, you slow down and you let them try to get away from you. And if you need to roll them over, then apparently they didn't want to live.
It is their honor to go to Bunny Valhalla. Shiny on your chrome bumper.
I did see a desert fox when I was driving back from the ranch yesterday. Would you like to hear my desert fox story?
We hit a bird with the car.
Well, I didn't hit shit. But as I was cresting one of the hills on 447, a desert fox ran across the road in front of me, like in the grazing area. And it went down into the ditch, and it came up out of the ditch, and it jumped to jump through the barbed wire fence there. And it nicked the top of one of the barbed wire fence strands and crashed and tumbled forward into the weeds. And that's what I saw as I was driving past.
Oh, you got a comedy fox.
I did. It was great. I was like, oh, look, it's so cute. Oh, it's going to jump through the thing. That's fucking funny.
Yeah, we came up on a bird that was sitting in the road, and it did what birds do when they're sitting in the road and a car's coming, that took off straight up in the air. Mm-hmm. But then instead of flying left or right, it flew right into the windshield.
I left a grease stain.
Yeah, sometimes that'll happen. It's probably fine.
Definitely not fine.
You guys have a pretty aerodynamic box of a car.
We were at freeway speeds, and it was a very bitty bird.
Oh, yeah.
So,
or an angel.
take care of yourselves, and I hope you enjoy this lovely conversation that we have with Popeye and Casey.
I feel like this was a hard pitch on my part because this grew out of me and Popeye and Leeway sitting around during Resto saying, you know what we really ought to do? And they're going to let us do it, is come onto this podcast and talk about how sailors are better at burning.
Yeah.
Which I think was my direct pitch to you.
It was, and I was sold in an instant. I've been on this kick for a while of identifying the subcultures that feed the Burning Man general culture. And, tall ship sailors was not one that I would pull out of my ass as obvious, but it's clearly an important component.
Yeah, it's almost the free square on the bingo card.
Yeah, we've gotten so many people who've kind of crossed that line over the last couple of years that I feel like, I don't know, it's that, what's that Arrested Development line? There are dozens of us.
But what I haven't run into is a tall ship sailor that just doesn't do anything out there.
No, those people are regatta sailors.
Yeah, those are the people that call themselves skipper, which is like a different thing.
Well, given that I have a fairly solid rule of not talking to anybody in a captain's hat at Burning Man, I'd never meet them.
Oh, that reminds me. I've got a sticker that I'm going to make next year, which grew out of something that I started shouting at people this past year, which is my culture is not a costume. Whenever I see any of the like bejeweled captain's hats, like, motherfucker, I had to earn my license. You can't just put that hat on.
Hey, you earned yours? I got mine out of a Cracker Jack box. When people always asked how I decided to become a captain, and it was like, well, it was either this or prison. So.
What is the most dangerous drug to do on a tall ship?
Well, I mean,
any drug.
Yeah. From like a strictly like employment standpoint, if you get popped smoking weed, then you're done.
Right.
And like for me, like I guess I stopped smoking weed like many, many decades before. Well, maybe not decades, but like
long enough to piss clear before you got a job.
Yeah, because that was never the thing. So like I quit smoking weed, but I only ever worked on West Coast boats. So when I'd like meet people in ports and like get some time off and like make new friends, I would talk to these people and all up and down the West Coast, it's always like, oh yeah, you want to like get a beer or a joint? And I'm like, oh well, I don't smoke weed because I have this license that I'm trying to maintain. And like telling people on the West Coast that you don't smoke weed voluntarily is like, it's like you've told them that like your kitten died. They're like, oh, that must be so hard. How are you dealing with that? Did you ever work on any of the boats that had the like rapid alcohol test strips?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a captain, we used to keep them underneath our bunks.
Rapid alcohol test strip.
Yeah, so that's the first thing. It's before you even go out to go drug test it, everyone, if there's a marine incident, the Coast Guard will order you to go take everyone's blood alcohol level. And it's just like a test strip you put on your tongue. Pass, fail. It doesn't tell you the quantity.
Oh, well, that's not as fun.
No. It's not like the party breathalyzer. Like, I fucked up on you. But yeah, we would have those. And like, every couple of months, or about every 6 to 8 months, they'd have to be changed out.
Oh, yeah, because they expire. So you just have to like...
You take them out to the bar and then you do it.
Yeah, exactly. Some of that stuff might change over the next 10 years. Right?
Some of that might change immediately. The government just released Friday the preliminary report on rescheduling, and they're recommending rescheduling to Schedule 3.
Interesting.
Which means it's going to be medicine.
Because, I mean...
do they test for your ADHD meds?
I was just going to bring that up. Yeah, because that's another thing that if you're a licensed mariner... That's a disqualifying thing on your medical certificate. Yeah.
ADHD?
Yep.
Oh,
because you have to be taking speed?
Yep. Absolutely.
God damn it. I want my sailors to have access to speed if they need it.
Well, they do.
I got to tell you,
need an access.
If I had to spend a 12-hour day like hauling on ropes and tying knots without my Vyvanse, I would be worthless. Worthless.
Yeah, it's like the old Blues Brothers quote, when the L train goes by, it goes by so frequently you don't even notice. Like your work days just goes by because you never have a time to sit down. You never have time to really sit and think of what's going on. As soon as you do, if you're working on a good ship, the mate's going to tell you to do something immediately before you finish doing the thing you just got told to do. So you're just constantly working. And I think that calls back to the work ethic of sailors is just go, go, go. They feel guilty if they're not doing something and contributing. If you put your hands in your pocket, it's like a faux pas.
I mean, it's so direct, right? Like you all are gonna die if people don't do the right things at the right times. It's just really direct in a way that not a lot of other positions are the same.
Right.
Yeah, you had me on board with nonstop work, days just flying by, staying busy. I love that. Until that whole hands in your pockets thing. You're out on the water and you can't put your hands in your pockets.
No, that's why you got to get the little fuzzy gloves, the little warm gloves.
Don't worry. Your hands will be so worked, you're not going to feel them anyway. You'll have calluses you didn't realize were calluses should have been.
Were you of the just raw dogging boots and mud?
No, I walked barefoot.
Really?
Yeah.
You just went barefoot?
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, barefoot was the only solution.
I had a scraping stick outside my door.
Yeah. A friend of mine showed up at our camp and had a spatula that was on a carabiner that was just attached. So I was like, oh, that's the ticket.
So smart.
That's the smart one.
Yeah, I even had I realized it was going to be a big sticky mess. So like I took a couple of buckets. For some reason, I have buckets and like set them up as catch trays outside of our shade tent. So I had like foot cleaning water.
Oh, that's so smart.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Clever. Yeah, I for a hot minute was looking at my pair of Extra Tough boots, which Extra Toughs are the like Alaskan kind of standard, like they're like the Alaskan sneakers. They're these big brown rubber boots that are insulated, and like if you work on boats for long enough, you will end up with a pair of Extra Toughs whether you like it or not. And I was like looking at them before I left for the burn this year, and I was like looking at them right next to my door, and I was like, nah, it'll be fine. And so I fucking left my Extra Toughs in Oakland. And I was just like sitting there in our camp, like, fuck, I wish I had those Extra Toughs.
Are they like galoshes style, like rubberized exterior? Did you guys see anybody with galoshes?
I saw a motherfucker with Extra Toughs, and I was like, that could have been me. Like, that could have been me if I'd been thinking right.
Did they resist the playa stilting?
No, absolutely not. But they're so easy to just like slough off, right? Like, they're really easy to clean.
I figure there's got to be something that doesn't playa stilt in the way that plastic bags don't playa stilt.
Yeah. I had Crocs, and I was like, "This is working," and then I was like, "This is not working."
Oh, did the mud like get in through all the little holes?
Sure.
Oh,
Yeah. But don't worry. It also just sucked it off your foot if you had to move quickly in any direction. And made, if you were not in the mud, it extra slippy wherever you were standing.
God. Yeah, I gotta say, we found a lot of just single shoes.
Oh, I bet.
At Resto. The best was like, especially on, I guess that's between point 1 and 2, kind of the fence line closest to the highway. We could see where people had like walked out to get rides on the highway. And there were a couple, like, you know, it's like you're almost doing forensics, looking at kind of the story of these footsteps across.
It's like two sets of footprints walk out here.
Yeah.
You know, there's only one walking back.
Exactly. Or it'll be like, you know, 2 footsteps or like 2 boot prints and then like a little scuffle in the mud. And then there will be 1 boot print and 1 bare foot. And there will be another scuffle in the mud. And then there will be just 2 bare feet walking through the mud to the highway.
Tracking defeated heartbreak.
Yeah. I mean, one of those tracks might have been Diplo. Who knows?
I think you guys should have saved a couple of those shoes to sell. Like,
Oh, no one would pay money for those shoes at that point.
yeah, no, but if you say it's Diplo's.
Oh yeah, I could be like, yeah, these are the shoes that Diplo walked across the planet.
They had to abandon in order to escape burning. Yeah.
Yeah.
That should maybe be in the survival guide. Do
Yeah.
not come here if you will lose your job if you are not back by the day after Labor Day.
Yeah, or like assume that you might be here a little bit longer or under different circumstances than you anticipated.
Or end up staying for resto.
I didn't stay for Resto. I left and came back. For the record.
Fine detail.
Yeah, not being trapped in the mud in a couple of days extra wasn't enough. You're like, you know what? I'll be back in 2 weeks.
Well, when I walked into the office to check in after coming back for Resto, they were like, "So, are you an environmentalist or crazy?" And I was like, "I'm unemployed."
Crazy check. Here's your t-shirt and stickers.
Yeah. Oh, you got stickers?
This wasn't your first year doing Resto, was
Yes,
it?
this was my first year doing Resto.
What a year to start. What a year.
Which is like kind of why I started. That was kind of the, you know, the reason that I went up. I was like, well, if there's any year to start, like this is what a weird year.
This is the year that needed the extra hands for sure.
Yeah, and funny enough, the moot map just came out this week too.
Yeah, we were fine.
The poor moot man.
The camp looked fine.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I was like checking it before, like as I was out there, and I was like, oh yeah, lag bolt, fuck, of course.
My camp was not fine. My camp could not have been fine because the gray water tank on the kitchen overflowed.
Oh, no.
Yeah, because it couldn't get serviced during the rain.
We experienced that in our village too, which I think going forward, again, like something that I learned on boats is that you always have like emergency procedures written for every situation, right? Like you have a checklist where it's like, oh, like our generator shit the bed. Well, this is like, here's a checklist that like any flunky can like take and like use to troubleshoot the situation. With our gray water in our village, no one thought during the rains to like twist the cap for the showers to stop that intake. So rain came in through our showers and just filled up our gray water tank.
God.
And then couldn't get it serviced for a couple days. Which was unfortunate because it meant that we couldn't take showers anymore, which was actually kind of all I wanted to do at that point. It was like, I'm just stuck in my village. All I want to do is go take a shower.
Just step outside.
Yeah.
Let nature rinse you off.
Someone suggested that because our shade structure started to like get the pool of water in it. And someone was like, we could just poke a hole in it and like, stand under it and like, shower or like wash ourselves off. I was like, do you want to be washing yourself in the like monkey water that is full of like playa and grease and whatever has been like on that tarp from when we put it away dirty last year?
One of the ships I worked on actually had a deck shower, and we had 2 crew members that didn't take the opportunity to shower before we left port. And they were like, oh, we'll just take deck showers on the way to this transit. So they're sitting there washing themselves on deck in their trunks with soap and water. I was like, yeah, that's all great and all, guys, but we're like going through the Detroit River system. That's literally just pumping the Detroit River from underneath the boat onto you. Like, I'm pretty sure you don't want to live with whatever you're going to have after this. And sure enough, within 48 hours, both of them were vomiting. Just an absolute disease.
Oh, no.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, that's not the cleanest river.
No.
At all. I think this is a rule that got shared at a muster on Hawaiian Chieftain once that I think also applies for DPW and like any shared living situation, which is if you can't remember the last time you took a shower, it is time for you to take a shower.
Oh yeah, my rule always was every 3 days, whether you need it or not, it's for us, not for you.
Yeah. Oh God. And like that was on a boat that had a baller shower.
And laundry facilities.
I'm like, why do you want to live like you're a Dickensian orphan? You have like the best shower on any boat that I've ever worked on.
That's because they had to wear Dickens era clothing.
Well, we stopped that by the last time I worked on that boat. There were no more funnies.
Yeah. Funnies were the affectionate term we called our 17th century, I guess 18th century style clothes that we had to wear for the education program.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was always very like anachronistic cosplay because you have these like funny like old 18th century clothes, but it's like it's a bunch of tall ship sailors, so it means that everyone's got like dyed hair, mohawks, and facial piercings, right? Like, what are we doing here, guys? Like, no one like we've shattered the illusion. We shattered the illusion. We didn't even start with the illusion.
This school group met their education coordinator smoking a cigarette at the top of the dock.
Yeah.
In the parking lot waiting for him.
Yeah, exactly.
As the rest of the crew's yelling, screaming yellow death!
It's kind of like fine dining, I mean, your waiter's wearing a tuxedo, but they're also drunk.
Yes.
Definitely didn't wash their hands after the last time they used the restroom.
Oh God. Can I share with you the most unhinged education coordinator shit that I've ever seen on that boat?
Absolutely.
So like this boat.
I don't work there anymore.
So
Let's bracket this first. Tell us about what the Hawaiian Chieftain is.
Oh yeah, I guess we should back up and talk about the Hawaiian Chieftain. The Hawaiian Chieftain was a tall ship that Popeye and I both have worked on extensively. Like most of the time that I used to earn my license, I earned on that boat. It was built in Hawaii in '88, I think. It was either 88 or 89, but late 80s. Boat was built by this like crazy millionaire who was like, I want a tall ship. I want to run cargo to the South Pacific. never did any of these things.
Ah, the whims of millionaires.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Which, like, hey, worse things to do with like a couple $1 million. than
Sure.
Build a weird, and it wasn't a replica of any one boat. It was kind of this like hodgepodge of a one rig design of a certain era and one hull shape of another era.
It was
And
a
then-
Winchester mystery boat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's exactly
Yeah,
it. It even had a secret staircase.
Yeah.
Yeah. It totally had a hidden staircase. Probably still does.
I think the stairs are gone.
Yeah, they might have redone that too.
Yeah.
Which was, yeah. But so this boat got sold kind of quickly after its initial voyage, operated as a charter boat in Sausalito for a long time. There are some old Burning Man connections to when that boat was a charter boat in Sausalito. Like, I definitely know some like kind of OG Burning Man org folks that like had birthday parties on board. And like, those stories have kind of been passed on and diluted in truth over the decades. But this boat ended up getting owned and operated by a historical foundation based out of Washington. And this boat was that org's breadwinner for every fiscal year. Because what we would do, because of its weird design, it only drew about 5 feet underwater, which is like a very, very shallow draft for a boat that's 103-foot sparred, long, big, huge, tall ship.
A sailing boat.
Yeah. So we could take that boat all the way up to Sacramento, and that boat would stay on the Sacramento River for about 3 months every year. And we just like churned kids through education programs. So it was like 2 programs a day, 5 days a week, and like 3-hour programs with like a half-hour break for lunch in the middle.
And sailing on the weekend.
Sailing on the weekends, deck tours on the weekends. So like they put that boat to work.
Man, I missed that by just a few years.
Yeah. I mean, last year she was in Sacramento, I think was 2018. And now she's got new owners. Who knows what they're going
Back
to do.
in the hands of millionaires again.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's a whole other thing.
Great. Maybe they'll slap some wheels on it and drive it to Playa. Break.
Yeah. Reemergence of Contessa.
Yeah. Will the DMV permit that again?
The DMV is an approval engine. They want to say yes to your mutant vehicle.
I fucking hope that's true, but we'll put a pin in that for later on. So the most unhinged thing that I've ever seen from an education coordinator on Hawaiian Chieftain, we were at the end of our Sacramento season. So we've been there for like 3 months.
Just one quick question.
Yeah.
Was Hawaiian Chieftain named by a white person?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
100%.
absolutely.
Yeah.
110%.
Good. Just checking in.
And vendors always had a really hard time spelling Hawaiian Chieftain, so there were many variations of this boat's name. There was like the Hawaiian cheese stand, the Hawaiian Chieftain. I saw that boat name spelled many different ways.
The Hawaiian cheese stand has a real selling point.
Yeah, like lovely pineapple cheese. I don't know.
They have cows
we can
there.
make it work.
They make cheese.
Yeah.
The Gruyere Musubi.
Yeah, we could totally make it work. So it's the end of the Sacramento season. We are all so tired, and we are so tired of like doing this education program every day. Part of the program is you teach the kids a sea shanty. At this point, we've like exhausted all of our appropriate.
Yeah, this is long before
Yeah,
the
there's only, like,
Wellerman
2,
came
right?
out.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Before TikTok made sea shanties famous for about 40 minutes.
Yeah. Like we are all like we have sung a drop of Nelson's blood to like the last, like we
I
cannot
actually refuse to sing sea shanties anymore.
I'm kind of with you on that.
Yeah.
Like I'm so tired of it.
Oh, I'm gonna leverage my YouTube sea shanty knowledge. Were you teaching them proper sea shanties, or were you teaching them sailors?
We were teaching them
Which
like,
one's the dirtier one?
Well, proper sea shanties have like a very fixed rhythm.
Yes.
that was so like we were teaching them about sea shanties by like teaching them kind of how the structure worked of like, this is how you keep in time when it's like 6 people hauling on a line together. So I'm in the galley. I think I was cook at this point. I was cooking on the boat. So I'm not part of the teaching team at all. I'm just like feeding our crew. And I hear the education coordinator doing the like sea shanty portion of the of the program. And I'm like, oh, I wonder what fucking song he's going to teach these kids. Cause like, I know he's burned out. I know he doesn't want to do this anymore. And so I hear him go, all right, kids, we're going to learn about call and response shanties. So when I say one thing, you're going to respond with another thing. All right. And I'm not going to teach you this because I think you know this song. And I'm like, I wonder where he's going with this. And I hear him start stomping and he's like, I like chicken, I like liver, meow mix, please deliver. And all of this entire school group of like 30 like fifth graders is like meow, 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 meow. He turned the like fancy feast or whatever. What is it?
Meow mix.
Meow mix.
Yeah,
Meow
meow
mix.
He turned the meow
You said
mix.
it.
Yeah. Apparently, I blocked this out too in the same way that I blocked out most of those sea shanties. But he like taught the meow mix jingle as a sea shanty, and it was the most brilliant thing that I've ever witnessed.
Not only is that brilliant, I think that I don't think any of the kids that could have been on that boat could have ever heard the Meow Mix jingle in a commercial on television. I think they all know that song from Dr. Evil.
Yeah, this is like the cultural zeitgeist of our
right.
generation. It's just everyone knows the meow mix. He also did this with the SpongeBob theme song.
Ah,
So, you know, he was like, would start this out with like, who lives in a pineapple under the sea? And all the kids would know to shout back SpongeBob SquarePants. And it's actually like kind of a useful way of like teaching about, you know, this is what a call and response shanty is.
yeah, it was that one really is the right rhythm, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Meow, meow.
Yeah, we did that when we were putting up Commissary tent this year. We did we were all hauling on the cables to get the tent poles to actually stand up, and we started doing 2/6 heave,
Which isn't a real thing.
which exactly.
Which is not a real thing.
But there was enough people with sailing culture that as soon as one of us started shouting it, so it's in the sailing field, you'll shout 2/6 heave, and everyone pulls on heave rather than saying 1 2 3 pull. You know, you cut out a number and then you make them separate, so it makes total sense that way. We had enough sailors amongst the group that once somebody started doing it, everyone picked up and they're like, "Oh, we pull on heave," and we got like the last commissary tent pull up that way, and everyone just started looking around. I was like, "You're a sailor? You're a sailor?"
Start to smell your own.
Yeah, you're like, "Wait a minute, who are you?"
Can I tell you my favorite variation on 2/6 heave? Because 2/6 heave is not rooted in any, like, there's a quote unquote historical explanation that has to do with like the positions of gunners' mates on like carriages of guns on British naval
ships,
vessels.
yeah.
But like, if you actually like start to look into this, none of this actually adds up and makes sense. It's just one of those things that's become the like lore. But my favorite variation, because Mark Spinnaco will refuse to let 2/6 heave happen on his boat because he's like, it's not a real thing. Yeah, because it's not authentic. It's not a real thing, and he chooses hills to die on, and like you just got to let it happen. But what was it? Where's the beef? So instead of 2/6 heave, it's
Right.
where's the beef? You get everyone shouting beef and hauling at the same time. Brilliant.
Speaking of the commissary tent, this was a new tent for commissary this year, which was absolutely horrifying to be in when the wind was up. What was up with that?
Was it?
Well, it was also smaller.
Was
Or
it?
It was shorter in height, I believe.
When the wind
that
came
checks
in,
out.
it just
Yeah.
picked up the legs on the side.
Oh no!
They put those bistro lights in the middle, and I mean, it was a tough year for a lot of things, but that first gust came in before the like rain during setup week, and it broke that shit apart. Like, dropped those bistro lights on the people in there, and all of the legs, which were just sitting on wood, like they were just propped up on a couple of pieces of plywood, just started lifting off the ground. So much so that we had people get up, like everyone was hunkering because the storm was coming in, and there were D-Day and Struggles both went to go grab them, and I'm like, I think we should leave.
Yes, D-Day, go ahead. Hold down the commissary tent.
It's just like an easy up. You'll be fine.
Don't mind the lightning. or the metal pole you're holding.
Yeah, I'm sure that physics will work out in your favor,
Well,
buddy.
at first, they were like, everyone get all the tables away from the poles. Oh, quick, grab the poles because they're getting lifted up off the ground.
Well, yeah, and they're actually only the side ones are actually only held in by compression. So they actually have like an 8-inch spike on the top that goes through a grommet, and then it's supposed to be tensioned
pushed
down.
down.
Yeah.
Not lifting it up.
Wow. Yeah, it feels like sailors probably didn't rig that.
No. No, I watched it. It wasn't one of us.
I
Wasn't
wish I'd have had
sailors.
some
Wasn't one of
sailors
us.
around the one time I had to haul on a big line. There was a art project way back called The Machine that was a big platform on 3 big pillars. And to destroy it, they wrapped big ass lines around the pillars and had people try and haul them out from under the platform.
Huh.
And they didn't know nothing about coordinating people, so it was just a heave with no rhythmic device to get people together on. And so we were all just sort of like loosely pulling against each other.
Well, I learned this fun fact this year. You know how the man's arms go up right before he burns? That has started with rope pulling and continues to this day. A rope is pulled in order for that to happen.
Really?
And it's done by humans.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like the person from Heat who was explaining it to me, I was like, well, that seems dumb. Why don't you guys like hook up one of your VRs and just drive away? Like, why do you get people involved? And he was like, no, think about it. Like, it's us that do it. Like, it's our people that go and actually make it happen. And then that's a cultural moment or a moment that they'll carry on and be like, yeah, this year I put the man's arms up, you know? And I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense, you know?
It's a
Keep them
callback to
engaged.
when the man used to be stood up by a...
It's the same rope. It's the same rope.
No way.
That's
Really?
cool as fuck.
Yeah. It sits in a garlic crate on the ranch.
Yay. Oh, I love that.
We got to see the man get put up by hand one year after the big fail of them replacing man-based crew and getting the Da Vinci year where the man stayed upside down and headless most of the year. Even all of the year, I don't know. I didn't stay for the burn that year. The next year, they reinstated the man crew itself or man base.
Man crew.
But they invited everybody out who was working as volunteers to haul on the rope to put it up the old-fashioned way, and it was pretty cool to watch. Like, I didn't go do it because it was too many people, and I was just like. But
Looked great from a distance.
it did, and it's also if you wanted to be in, you needed a hard hat at a certain point.
And you're like, I'm not wearing a hard hat. That's not fashionable.
No,
Yeah, I just walked around a shipyard all morning. without a
Beth puts
hat.
too much time and attention into her hairdo to cover it with a hard hat.
Wait, it's the same rope? That's blowing my mind. I want to know what kind of rope that is.
Oh yeah, it's like it's an anchor hawse.
Wow.
It's like a 4-inch hawse rope.
Damn.
Yeah.
Damn. I guess that's how you know I'm a sailor. I'm like, wait, is it Polypro? Is it Posh? Is it Navy Flex? Like, what is it?
Wow. Rope to survive in that condition for that many years.
Yeah, I don't think it's the original one, but it's the same one that they've used continuously year after year.
it's spiritually the same rope.
I mean,
It's the rope of
if
Theseus.
Larry touched it, isn't it the same rope?
If you unwind one strand and then wind that on to the next rope, is it the same, rope? Yeah.
Like the blue nose too.
Oh my God. That's so funny.
The blue nose.
So Blue Nose is a very famous fishing schooner, and it's the official state ship of Canada.
It's like on a bunch of the currency.
Yeah, it's on, I think, their $5 bill.
Sure.
And it's at least on their like 10-cent piece.
Well, you can't put the queen on everything.
Well, she's dead now.
Yeah.
Oh, spoiler alert. Damn.
But it's like their famous like cultural pride thing that they have, especially on the Eastern territories or Eastern Maritimes. And they went, the Canadian government paid all this money. It was like 30 something million dollars to completely restore it. And the argument is, well, you've changed X amount of the original timbers. Is it really still the Blue Nose, or is it a new ship? And to
Depends on who you
quantify it,
ask.
yeah. So there's like the big argument: is it a new ship, or is it the old ship still.
I love that there's an official Canadian government position on the ship of Theseus question.
I mean, like real talk. Like we've got the same scenario with the old Ironside.
Yeah, USS Constitution.
Yeah, where like there is one piece of that boat that like everyone points to, and they're like, that's the original. Like we're keeping that, and it's like in the bow. It's like in the very very front of the boat. It's like, yeah, this is the one timber that lets us like
See, this is the same
call
boat.
it that it's the same. Because I mean, you functionally can't build another boat like that because all that wood is just so. Like, we don't have access to that kind of wood.
We cut all those trees
Those trees
down
are
a
gone.
long time ago.
Yeah.
These are like the truffle of trees of boats.
Basically, like,
They're gone now.
was it white oak?
Yep, it was live oak.
Live oak, yeah.
Yeah.
I just watched a documentary that was talking about how early settlers in America would put marks in live oak trees to say this is the case. This is going
Yeah.
to be a mast.
Yep.
Fucking leave it alone.
Yeah, the arrow pointing up.
Yeah.
This is the King's Mark.
I think the U.S. Navy still has like a kind of old growth like piece of forestry that they maintain specifically for timbers for boats.
I've seen a bunch of live oak trees growing up in Northern California. I've never seen one big enough to want to make even planks out of, much less a mast.
Yeah.
Well, they used to be hundreds of years old.
I guess so.
Yeah, it's the oak actually didn't. So you use woods in various types for wooden boat construction for different aspects. Masts weren't ever oak. Oak was primarily hull, and that's what like they call her old Ironside, but she's not really iron. It's 2.5 inches thick of oak that would just cannonballs would hit and bounce right off. When the British were surprised, they're like, "How's that possible?"
What the
I
fuck
had no
is this
idea.
witchcraft?
America, bitch.
Yeah.
Ironsides was a nickname as opposed to an actual descriptor.
Yeah.
I think it's easy to get conflated because we're not too long after you started getting ironclads.
Yeah, that's true. Ironclads came around in about the 1840s, 1850s. So, but full iron construction ships like really took off in the 1860s when you got hot riveting ships coming out and whatnot, and then you start. No one builds a wooden boat anymore.
This is
Why do you look at me when you say that?
You're the one who owns a wooden boat.
That's true. I do own a wooden boat. In my defense, I did not build this wooden boat. I just salvaged it off the rock,
Rebuilt it.
basically.
So, are there any tall ship sailors that aren't like history docents around ships?
I mean, I think you have to have a certain amount of like,
Love of, interest in.
You got to be like, you must be this nerd to like get on this as a career, you know? Like, but yeah, thinking about like the practical traits too. Most of the like working tall ship sailors I know also are like fabricators or like mechanics. Like, this is not a sustainable career to kind of have just because you're a history nerd.
to be fair, there are very few sustainable careers for history nerds.
That's very true.
Yeah, there aren't even like history professorships anymore.
No, we churn out like 600 history PhDs every year for 2 open positions.
Yeah,
Although that said, like some of the best money that I've ever made working on tall ships was actually here in the Bay working for the Park Service. And I got hired on kind of in an agreement partnership that the Park Service had with like their nonprofit arm to operate one of the boats in the collection down at Hyde Street. Mm-hmm. But because it was because even though I was a contractor, all my rates were kind of guidelined by the NPS rates for that labor.
What's NPS?
National Park Service.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So for their hazard pay, if you were an NPS employee, your hazard pay started if you went aloft. But their definition of going aloft was leaving 18 inches, like going above 18 inches off the deck.
Oh my God.
So 18 inches off the deck, you're like standing on the rail of one of the boats.
Uh-huh.
And you could just be like doing the simplest job ever, like tarring the rig, and you'd be making like government level hazard pay, which was like 40 something an hour or like $46 an hour for hazard pay.
Fuck yeah.
and you got to smell like pine tar.
Yeah, and you have to smell like I think the job recs are open for the rigger position now, and I want to funnel more seasonal Burning Man workers into that pipeline because it's like the best money that you can make.
I noticed you're broken in a real particular
Yeah.
way. What do you think about boats?
I noticed that you have no plans from April to like August. Have you considered making more money than you will ever make sailing by working on a museum ship?
Attention, our DPW listenership. I know there's lots of you.
Yeah. Go sign yourself up at usajobs.com.
If you're on an eastbound freighter, switch back to a westbound freighter. Freight train.
No one hops trains anymore.
Really?
That's not true.
I mean, who knows?
No one you hang out with
No,
hops trains anymore.
no one should, but it still happens.
That reminds me. We had like an infestation of crust punks on one of the tall ships for a minute.
you gotta get rid of that first one, or they just grow.
Oh, well, yeah, because there was one.
Yeah.
And they were like,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
told all of their friends that, hey, you get like 3 meals and a
day.
place to
And a
sleep.
place to sleep.
Just to like hang out on this old school boat.
I can smoke cigarettes and drink as much coffee as they'll let me.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't care that I have tattoos that are visible.
Yes. And so, like, I got a call from one of our mutual friends who took over the boat in Sacramento. Again, this is another, like, Sacramento burnout story on Hawaiian Chieftain. And he was like, hey, I just had to fire my cook. I'm like, oh, bummer, dude. That sounds rough for you. He's like, I know you're in San Francisco. Can you come cook for, like, a week while we, like, figure out what to do? I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Like, it's one train ride away. And so I show up and I'm like, yeah, so like, why'd you fire this cook? And he was like, she dumpstered provisions. Like,
Oh, no.
she was like digging out of the dumpster and like serving us like, and that's fine. That's fine. But like, we have a budget. You have a credit card. Fuck. You can go to the
You're not
grocery
saving the
store.
company money, but dumpster diving.
Guys, this is why you also, friends who go to Burning Man, if someone who doesn't have a tent or a blanket offers you some amount of food, ask them where they got it from.
Oh
Some
my
people don't
God.
believe that you need to know that they fished that out of the dumpster.
Right.
But it was that same cook because I remembered who she was. We had like a little bit of overlap, and she'd made some comment about like, oh yeah, tall ships are just like freight trains, you just kind of get on and like, and the captain overheard this and was like, no, these are not like freight trains. He was like, I'm the one in charge. You have to like. When you hop on a freight train, you have no relationship with the conductor. I'm the conductor. I'm telling you that, like, it's not acceptable to, like, not shower for 2 months and, like, not work hard. Like, he's like, this is not like a freight train at all.
I mean, you do have a relationship with a conductor when you hop on a freight train. It's to hide from them.
If you think this is the freight train, I'm the bull.
But I don't know. I always thought she'd be great for DPW, but not tall ships.
Yeah.
We do need a lot of people to look after those dumpsters.
Yeah, maybe it was just a misplaced calling in life.
The dumpster divers make the best TSA people.
I'm
Pretty sure TSA is just
dumpster.
divers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
These are people who aren't creeped out by your trash and are really good at spotting if things are still useful to other people.
It's dumpster diving with organization. Structure.
And for some reason, every time I go down there, there are several people in lingerie. And I'm like, if I was doing this, I wouldn't do it in lingerie, but you do you.
Just because you're touching shit all day long doesn't mean you can't look cute.
Also, it's probably easier to
Shower
shower
it
off
off.
trash juice from your skin
Than
than
from
do
your-
laundry.
Right, they're out there so long.
Also, it might be that lingerie is just like the first lingerie they dig out of the trash in the morning.
Yeah, they forgot to get dressed for work that day.
It's just going to go right back in the
The
trash, at the end of the day.
Disposable lingerie. Disposable trash lingerie. Shit, that's who you guys should have on the pod next. I want to like
Somebody from TSA.
yeah, I want a day in the life of the TSA workers.
I really liked Moon's vibe, the new head of TSA this year.
Yeah.
I've never seen such a small, articulate human being both sound so happy and so distressed so loudly at the same time.
I met him briefly at Resto this year, And oh my gosh, what a wonderful human.
Such a delight. So fucking funny. Like,
Fuck yeah.
Moon would get up and be like, "Hey, I've heard that you all don't want to come to TSA because people yell at you, that we used to have a yelling problem. And I promise we won't yell at you except for right now. Come on, TSA."
Oh man, that reminds me, one of my favorite like boat rules that I totally shamelessly lifted from Shiny has also served me very well at Burning Man, which is no panicked voices.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
Even if there's an emergency, like, this is not a time to panic. This is not a time to break out the panic voice. Like,
Right.
no panicked voices.
Yep.
That is so important. This year, where we faced several emergencies that required. So we were mistakenly putting up the shade for production while wind was coming in, and it was like, oh, we should probably just stop it, but they're trying. So I'm like, boat term, I guess. I'm like, all hands on deck, guys. Every single person in the camp needs to be holding.
There you
up
go.
shade
Now you're getting it.
right now. But at first I wasn't panicked enough, and people didn't understand that I meant right the fuck now. Right now. Are you not doing anything? Go fucking over there right now. Hold on to something, please. When you're actually in the situation and handling something dangerous, panicked voice is not helpful at all.
No, you kind of throw people off too when you start to seem panicked and you're trying to lead something. They start to question like listening to you and whatnot.
Yeah, I can think on maybe one hand the number of times I've watched command staff that I've worked for like lose their temper or lose their cool. And that's not good.
Yeah.
Like, it's not.
It's always a big bummer.
Yeah.
That's
I don't want boat dads yelling at me.
Boat daddy.
Boat dad is a state of mind. All right.
What's something that you've seen out on Playa that you've had to like fight your internal sailor to go stop yourself from going and taking over and saying wrong, bad?
The Monaco.
Okay. Boy, they try so hard.
And they actually do a fairly good job. The Monaco is legitimately the running rigging is as accurate as they can get it. And the standing rigging is fairly decent.
And
I've
they've
actually
labeled
climbed a loft.
everything.
Yeah, I've actually climbed a loft on it.
Yeah,
And
my favorite thing about the Monaco is the fact that they put enough thought into it that they've gone with like a tag and like labeled every piece of line for its function, which like when I was coming up on tall ships, that would have been really useful for me. Just like a label maker of like, this is the clue for the like, fore topsail.
yeah, instead we're just going to make you do it 27 times in a 3-hour sail.
Clue bunt, clue bunt, clue bunt, clue?
No.
Fuck. Clue bunt reef, clue bunt, clue bunt. Lady Washington. Pin rail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I got the reference. I was never a deckhand on that boat, so I never.
Is this the order of the lines? That
Yeah.
all the lines that look exactly the same to the untrained eye, and you have to know exactly which one to like run and either haul on or cast off at the right time. And it's like that, it's like in any emergency situation where all of a sudden you look down and where there used to be 2 buttons, there are now 8 buttons. It's just how your eyes kind of function in like a high pressure situation.
Yeah, think about it. It's just sailing ship is just a giant simple machine, right? So if you have a set of ropes on one side that you pull or lines, people are going to be semantic.
A simple machine is a lever. You shut the fuck up. It's a simple machine.
Well, so if you're pulling on one side, you have to ease on the other, right? So there's opposite forces in play there. So
basically a whole series of levers.
yeah, it's with blocking tackles and wood and canvas and swearing and
Yeah, the Monaco is great. I would love to verify myself what their captain says when he says, "Oh yeah, we can go sailing."
oh, I've done it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What's it like?
downwind.
Just straight downwind.
They,
Right?
Well,
they put
a
up
little
the
broader.
sails and
Yeah.
let it
Yeah,
go?
so I don't know if they've done it this year, but in 2017, I went outside the trash fence with them. We were actually escorted out by gate staff, and They set all the sails.
That's
and
how they
turned
kick
the
you
engine
out of
off.
Burning Man, by the way.
We're literally just sailing north towards the gold mine. And like, there's no way to turn around and sail back. We'd had to motor back, and the engine overheated, and we were just sitting out there waiting for it to cool off.
Did Gate come out and get you, or
Yeah, so Perimeter did come out to take a look at us to make sure that we were all right.
and that you haven't taken on any stowaways?
Well,
I guess how would they check? How would they verify that?
well, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Truth be told, I didn't stick around either. I jumped in the gate truck and left.
That might be like the most high effort way to like sneak into Burning Man is just wait for the Monaco to like do one of their.
Thumb out for the Monaco.
I actually hopped on the Monaco in I think it was 2015 because it was when I took a break. I finished a shipyard period on Hawaiian Chieftain, flew from Washington to Oakland, swapped out all my boat gear at my storage unit for like my Burning Man gear. Went to Burning Man.
Wait, how's that different?
It's just the amount
Just a
of
black
dust.
T-shirt and pants.
Yeah, fuck.
Fewer layers.
I did not bring my foul weather gear, which now knowing
Now you might.
Yeah,
You might
after
start
last
packing
year,
it.
I'm keeping all that foul weather gear and my extra tufts in my permanent Burning Man stash. But then I went to Burning Man and then left and did another boat contract. I think at Lammy, and so I like show up to Burning Man straight off the boat basically, and I had my Turk's head, which you've still got yours. You should show that off. This is the signifier that you're a tall ship sailor. It's like a hand woven.
They have a friendship bracelet
It
that
is.
is.
Oh, it's
totally.
definitely.
It's totally.
Hold on, let me capture this friendship bracelet. That could be our episode art.
Is it
Here's
hemp?
your
Doesn't it
thumbnail.
hurt your skin?
It's tarred marlin.
It's tarred
like
marlin.
that.
So it's a nylon line that's been tarred.
So this is like when you work on tall ships long enough, and like I know people that have their Turk's head tattooed on their wrist, but this is like the signifier that you've been in this life for an amount of time. And so I still had my Turk's head on, and I was like out wandering like Inner Playa one night, and the Monaco comes by, and they're clearly doing some like friends and family like whatever, like which you can do, like that's fine. And so I tried to get on, and the guy was like, "Oh, no, we're full." And I was like, I bet this is going to work. I just like held up my Turk's head, and I was like, "I've got the special wristband, guy." And he was like, looked at it, and he was like, "Are you a sailor?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, fuck yeah, come on." Just like used it like my VIP sailor wristband.
I love knowing that the Monaco's rigging is climbable. I need to get up on that.
I mean,
You should probably get permission first.
Yeah.
Well, I like to seek consent. It's kind of my thing. I'm thinking of the shipwreck at the end of the pier.
yeah.
One of the things that broke my heart about it is the rigging was so inviting, but it wasn't built for climbing.
Yeah.
This is before I was there. Yeah.
I didn't see, I only saw pictures of that because I think that was what, 2012?
2011.
2011? Sounds about right. Yeah. I was not there that year, but I've seen pictures, but like I don't know. People are bad at rigging. People are
sure.
bad at just like making it look like
You mean I can't eyeball how a ship works? I don't know what you mean.
I think the issue with it was that it was it had fuel lines for poofers at the tops of the masts. It certainly looked like it was structural enough to climb up.
I mean, anything can be climbed once.
Yes, but whether it was or wasn't, I wish they'd made it so that it was.
Right.
Because that would have made it better. And I want things better. Do better, Burning Man. Make things I can climb.
Make better boat archives.
So one of the very few things that I know about ships is that you have to understand how knots work. Have you seen really bad knots out there?
Well, mostly on Playa, we talk about miles per hour, but go.
I think there was like a giant art piece that it was like shibari. It had a bunch of shibari rope on it.
Speaking of things you're not allowed to climb.
Yeah. Were you not supposed to climb that one?
Wait, which one was this?
It was out on like the 130 side of Deep Playa, I think 2017 or 2018. And it was just really bad knots. And like I climbed up there with another F-bomb, another sailor friend of ours.
Oh yeah.
And we were just like looking at him like, what's going on here?
Those are knots to get you hot. To support your weight.
Yeah, I've definitely taught a bunch of knots to campmates who are like, trying to figure out how to like tension their shade structure, or like, have built a monkey hut that's like falling over to one side, and like, trying to figure out how to like guy it down. Rolling hitches are like actually, if there were like 4 knots that I feel like every burner should just like know. Square knot, for one, right? Like everyone should just know how to do a square knot, not a granny knot.
Yeah, it's like tying your shoe.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. But some people don't know how to do that either, bud.
Yeah, that's why I wear elastic shoes.
I was in my mid-30s before I realized there are 2 ways to tie a shoelace knot.
Wait, there are 2 ways to tie a shoe. How are you tying your shoes?
When you loop the bows, depending on which direction you loop it, you'll end up with a square knot or a granny knot inside the bow itself.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that like there were directions on that maneuver, and it just like went the way my hands went.
But like
Never
square
thought
knot, rolling hitch, right? Because you can use that to kind of like adjust tension. Clove hitch, which should be like the 4th knot that everyone should know.
Bowling.
Yeah, but like you should know a
Trucker's
bowling
hitch.
Yeah, the trucker's hitch.
Yeah.
What's the trucker's hitch? What's that for?
Trucker's hitch is what I secure basically every tense line with.
Yeah, it gives you a strong bite that in the middle of the line, so a loop that you can then like run through like an anchor or something and crank back on it. It increases your mechanical advantage in your purchase to make something tighter.
Yeah, I think a trucker's hitch is something that anyone who's hauling loads of shit to Burning Man should know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, full stop.
Would you go with a rolling hitch or a trucker's hitch for securing shade structures and such? Because I always trucker's hitch to my anchor points.
Yeah. Rolling hitches are just easier. They're just faster.
Bowlines are what you use in theater all of the time. Where
really?
You're just like, I need it to hang here.
Yeah.
Like, I just need it to not move in any direction and hang here. Like, so I do everything with bowlines and then I have to retension them.
Look, I've never met a problem that I couldn't solve with 2 bowlines tied together.
Fuck yeah.
Bowline is a knot that I know how to tie in theory, but it's always going to take me 8 attempts before it goes in. And I cannot for the life of me figure out what I'm doing wrong the first 7 times.
And then it just goes right and you're like, what did I do different?
Bowlines are also one of the ones that are, I feel like, very prone to the like trick knot tying approach. Like I've seen people like, and again,
What is a trick knot tying approach?
so like shit that goes viral on TikTok. I'm not on TikTok. Like I'm too old for TikTok.
I've seen TikTok on Reddit before.
but I'm of the age where I only watch TikTok videos that get shared to Facebook. Like that's the generation that I'm in. And so like I'll see the shit on Facebook that's like, people like doing the the flippy, like you flip and you do, and then like a bowline appears. And I'm like, that looks like too fucking much work. I'm not doing that. I'm just kidding.
A moment that I really understood what was going on with sailors that was not going on with the rest of us. I think it was D-Day brought in a friend of his to center camp who was a tall ship captain, or check that, a ship captain of some. I think he was actually a tug.
I was like,
captain.
what's his name?
It might be like.
Oh,
captain.
it was the tugboat. You're right.
That's right. He was definitely a tugboat captain.
Yeah.
And he came in to show us some knots, and the way he tied knots is so different than I've ever seen anybody else tie knots, because he would lay them, like the rope, along his outstretched arm and then lay the knot in it.
Weird.
Yeah.
Weird. I don't like that.
Your knot tying skills are creepy.
And he
dude.
did it with a whole bunch of different knots. Like the length would go over his shoulder, and he would just, it made this like very fixed position for the knot to go in.
Huh.
It's really interesting.
I mean, when like tying knots on ships, like it becomes a muscle memory. So much of the work becomes muscle memory that like you can tie a knot. I can tie a clovage behind my back or not looking, or like in a position offhand with my non-dominant hand. I've tied them underwater while I was being drowned by the boat I was like trying to pull back up.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Can I say?
No. It was a dory.
Okay.
I was in a small boat race, and like my boat was sinking. I had to rescue it.
It happens to the best.
Yeah,
of us,
but
buddy.
like it becomes a muscle memory that you are, you're able to do it without looking or thinking. But like that guy probably has practiced it so many times in that manner that is his muscle memory. I always have to.
I also think it was maybe a teaching technique, because by doing this, we could really see how the knot was related to the length of rope that was running down his arm. It was like a fixed point.
I'm gonna have to try doing that now.
So are you guys to the point now that when you meet like sailors, you're like, you should come do Burning Man?
I think at this point, like,
You don't meet sailors because you're just all around.
yeah, I think at this point too, like we've hit, like I think I've personally recruited everyone who I think I'm going to be able to recruit.
Yeah, I've got the pitch in for 3 different people this year.
Fuck yeah.
To come out on crew. So
I always find it an exciting year when I'm like, I have you on the hook. I know you're
Gotcha.
gonna love it.
Gotcha. Wait, how did Keel come in?
Keel came before me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wait, how?
Yep. How?
I always just assumed that you got him into this.
No. Keel started the year before me. And I came. I was like, oh, I'm still going to do more sailing as my like entire life was imploding. I'm like, it's okay. You know, best way to solve your relationship is 1,300 miles of sea.
Yeah, I mean,
Love can't touch me here.
It worked the last 8 years.
oh. Hey, I mean, I have no room to judge.
You don't.
You know some of my tall ship exes.
I know.
Oh wow! Okay, this is actually a question I do want to ask you guys, because what a wild place to create a relationship. Like it's
Trauma bonding.
right, it's wild enough to do it in DPW, to do it in the volunteer community. It's like, hey, we're going to be hanging out with the same people for 3 months, 6 months, whatever. Keep seeing them. That's how you like people and learn to know who they are. And it's like, but a boat is a small number of people, and
But
you're very trapped.
You just described the same thing, just in different places, right?
Yeah.
Like relationships are going to develop how they develop, whether you're, you know, in the same camp for 3 weeks or on the same boat for 3 months. Like your options are pretty limited, but
like-
also that like the conversion and the like you know, friendship is very high, right? And like, what's better than dating your friends?
Dating your friends with their pants off.
Exactly.
But I assume that it gets messy then.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
I had a partner that was also not only on the same crew but also in a position that reported to me, and
Ooh, Trixie.
yeah, the perception of me yelling at them as a person of authority on the ship versus like their partner telling them what to go do as in a professional setting, not in our personal setting. And then having to deal with that in our cabin at night, every night. I'm just like, what you said to me was mean. I was like, well, that's because you were about to lose a finger. like trying to justify that whole like professional personal relationship.
While living in the same cabin. At what point do you cabin up? Is that like a conversation?
Oh boy.
I mean, you always cabin up.
Yeah, well, and
Like who's got the bigger cabin? That's who you're going for.
or who's got, or real talk, like who's the only one in this relationship with a door?
Yeah, with a door.
Ooh, so
Most
the
of the time-
doors are real.
Yeah, most of the time you're on a ship, it's actually just a curtain, an illusion of privacy between you and the person next to you.
It's the magical soundproof, smell-proof, like privacy curtain, right?
You don't hear anyone's farts or snores.
This is the lie that we just all buy into because you have to buy into it. Like, if you're not all like buying into this reality that you're creating, that's when shit gets bad.
When someone admits, hey, I can hear you fucking right now.
Yeah, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I have heard a story. I was not any part of the story. This was relayed to me as I was coming on to.
Is this the magic hour?
No.
Oh, okay, go for it.
No. So this was in that same kind of infestation of cross punks that was on Chieftain. One of them was in the, like, they were all living in the main hold. And the main hold on Hawaiian Chieftain had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 bunks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 12 bunks.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like all of the crew, except for maybe the engineer, the mate, and the cook, and the captain, are in this one shared living situation. And one of the crusty deckhands, like, found some banjo playing, street musician in old Sacramento, and like brought him home, and like proceeded to have very loud, very smelly sex, because it's a bunch of fucking cross punks and like street musicians. Like, this is.
Are there not showers on this boat that you
Again,
can like run them through?
I cannot emphasize this enough. The best shower of any boat that I've ever worked on was on this boat. So like the fact that no one was showering was just like a personal artistic choice.
It is a lifestyle. You don't want to break up the crust, you might get sick.
Right.
Oh yeah, if you disturb the
Because the
crust,
germs will finally get in.
Exactly.
So apparently, some brand new volunteer who's like kind of an older lady, and like,
An actual docent.
yeah, it was like, she was like a Sacramento local, and she was like, I watch Hawaiian Chieftain come in all the time, blah blah blah. Like, I would love to.
Very
I'd love to come.
romanticized vision of what it was like going to be on board.
She literally just wanted to like show up and like help us run deck tours or something. So her first night on the boat, she's got the bunk below the like hobo sex bunk.
Yeah.
And she like apparently woke up in the morning and was like, well, that was very nice, but this is not for me. And like just left without telling anyone. It's like, you can't abuse the power of the secret magic soundproof curtain. Like, it has a limit.
We had
What was the magic hour?
so in a boat that we both know, there was a lot of couples on the ship, and they had instituted a sexy time hour directly after dinner for all the couples. That way, the people
Who didn't want to.
who weren't coupled
Don't have to have sad trying to read while everyone's fucking hour.
Oh no.
There's another story I got is on the ship. There are various different holds that they call different names, but the forecastle or the forecastle is typically where the crew stays. And this ship in particular had 8 bunks up in the forecastle, and 2 of the crew members were going at it so hard, so rough. They broke the boards holding the fucking bunks together and fell down into the bunk below them.
Oh no.
We had to be like, hey guys, do you think at any point you heard wood
Might want to
cracking?
lower a bunk.
You heard the wood cracking. It was like, hey, maybe we should be a little more courteous around here.
Holy shit.
You know who this person is, by the way. You know both of these people.
Have I dated either one of these
Yep.
people? Oh no. Oh no.
So I take it it's a fairly insular community.
Yeah.
Are a lot of them poly?
I mean, as a function of like being on a boat together, yes.
So messy monogamy, not necessarily polyamory.
Yeah.
So there was one point on a
Maybe
boat.
better now.
I think it is better. I just actually met someone that worked on, I think, the boat that you were mentioning, and they were like, yeah, I mean, it's kind of messy, but like we all know that we've got to like get our shit together, and that's also a very like tall ship thing too, is that there's a recognition that there are 3 ways of policing kind of messy behavior on boats. We can all agree to police each other, right? And kind of hold each other accountable and say,
Like, hey, stop being a jerk to this person.
Yeah, or like
be aware that you just fucked into another human being.
Yeah, like maybe the fact that like every time you come home from the bar and like, you know, puke in your bunk and like, you know, fall, like maybe this is a chance for you to like we can all police ourselves here, right?
If
and
you
like,
can't keep your drinking problem by vomiting into the sea, we need to really talk about this.
and so like you can police each other, like we can take care of each other as a crew, or we can rely on like the command staff to do it, which like
you never want that.
Also,
Right,
don't
that's
want.
very...
Or-
Ship daddy is not who I want telling me how to drink or fuck.
Yeah,
Or-
to live
No,
your
no.
life.
No, but nobody wants lashes. Or nobody wants people to understand how much they want those lashes.
Or like the third option, the nuclear option, is like the police you, right? Or like the Coast Guard
Yeah.
polices you. And
Dude,
like
there's a level of escalation
we
in each.
all don't want that.
When you work on boats, you are just a sea carny. You're at sea for long periods of time, and then you come into land and you're like, oh, law doesn't apply to me. I'm going to be gone next week.
Spoiler alert. It still applies. It still fucking applies. Yeah, that was a Jakeism too.
Yeah.
That I've heard now recited through a couple of people that trained under him. So this is like the sailing grandfather, you know, lesson of
This is the sea daddy of all sea daddies.
Yeah.
If you're on the West Coast.
yeah, Jake Jacobson.
This sea
rest in
daddy's
peace.
pipe has a pipe.
Yeah, he passed away in 2020. So raise a glass to Jake Jacobson.
Cheers, Jake Jacobson.
But he trained the people who trained me. So there is this very kind of sailing grandfather thing that has happened on the West Coast with a bunch of sailors.
Is there
Did he have opinions about how not to get the cops involved?
Yes.
Yeah, don't get the cops involved.
Yeah.
It's like rule number 1, don't get caught.
Yeah.
is there a Jake Jacobson's treasure map?
Ooh, well,
Where did he bury it?
Well, we did. One of the things that we did when he passed away, a couple of sailors who were up in Washington where he lived assembled a box of all of his shipwright tools because he was a very accomplished shipwright. And that was actually what he was doing kind of for the last, 10, 15 years, was mostly working on boats and not driving boats anymore. So we got together and got a box of his kind of best tools and included on the top of the toolbox some photos of Jake and some of his philosophy, like the Viking canoe thing that he would say. It was like some lore about taking care of the vessel that you're in and all this. And so we got that all together and gave it to an up and coming shipwright up in Port Townsend with the agreement that once she finished her course at Northwest School of Wood and Boat Building,
You give that shit back.
give that shit back. She's now working at the co-op up there, and we should reach out at some point and be like, hey, it's time for you to you get to choose the next person to get this box of tools, right?
Yeah.
And that's
Buy your own tools now.
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, exactly.
you're making
that-
real money. Go.
You're right. Well, you're making as real money as you can make working as a wooden
In a
boat
co-op,
shipwright,
yeah.
in a co-op, yeah.
What is a shipbuilding co-op?
You're the shipwright. You should answer.
I don't know exactly how their operation runs. I've always worked as an apprentice to a shipwright. So a shipwright it's a carpenter that specializes in wooden boat construction. You imagine there's not many 90-degree angles on a boat. There's always a curve or a compounding curve. And it's just it's a different technique in construction. And I had only worked on boats, wooden boats. That's my background. And then I come working for Burning Man as a carpenter. I'm like, all of a sudden, they're like, this is a speed square. And I'm like, what's it do?
Where? That's a shape I've never seen
Yeah, they're
before.
like, it marks a 90-degree angle.
What do you want that for?
Yeah. They're like, all right, could you cut this wood? I was like, yeah, where's your bandsaw?
Yeah, what have you put in place from your boat building experience to building boxes?
Oh,
or
nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing. No, truthfully, I was
Not to put your fingers in the saw?
Oh,
though things I've been able to bring over from wooden boat construction into production for Burning Man is just knowing how material strengths work and material application is. Because in the maritime field, you are in a very dynamic and corrosive environment that you have to use like the right materials and you have to have right application in order for it to have any kind of longevity. So a lot of the stuff I do for Burning Man is that.
It's almost like an inverse. Like rather than dealing
longevity.
with salt exposure and intense humidity, you're dealing with alkaline exposure and
Which
none.
is still
Yeah.
corrosive, though.
Yeah. In fact, too, it's like one of the things I like about my department, Burning Man, is we're one of the few departments that builds things to last as opposed to burn or, temporary structures. Ours are more permanent and are used for year after year.
And all of your cabins have doors.
Yeah, the first year I was out here, I showed up to the ranch to work a 9-month contract. And I had just gotten from the Caribbean, just gotten out of a bad breakup in a relationship. And I showed up with my sea bag, which is like a canvas hand-sewn bag that had enough clothes for a week and a half, and that was it, and like bedding. And everyone on the ranch was like, do you understand where you're at? I was like, yeah, I'm in the middle of nowhere. I mean, I came in at night, so I slept the whole way driving out 447 and didn't realize where I was until the next morning. I woke up like, there's a fucking mountain with snow, and here's 200 cars with no doors on a single one of them.
200 cars and 2 doors between them.
Yeah, and
You went out to the storage containers and you're like, well, this looks familiar.
I understand these.
What
But
year
yeah.
was that? What was your first year?
My first year was 2017.
2017.
Yeah.
I think I remember getting a message from you shortly after you taken your first contract out there, and you were like, why does everyone know you?
Yeah.
Like everyone I talked to.
Yeah, I met you guys in front of the ghetto,
Yeah.
and Rex, you were like, "Oh, you sailed on tall ships? Do you know my friend Casey?"
My partner Joe was like, Popeye, is that the guy who peed on me when I was there last time? And I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure I met Popeye on his first year because I was so blown away. You were the first person that I was like, you did what? What? And your
Wait, who did you pee on?
Didn't
This
no one
was
know.
me.
I
Yeah,
was
this is
saying-
totally
No, it's a different Popeye. And he was like, I was like, no, I met him in his first year, so it was before that guy peed on me.
You got peed on by a different Popeye.
And he was like, I suppose that's a common name.
I suddenly think I know
Which Popeye peed on Joe?
The pissing Popeye, yeah.
The pissing Popeye.
Which is definitely his name now. It's
Yes.
not Popeye, it's Pissing Popeye.
Pissing Popeye.
But what I noticed with you was I was there earlier than I'd ever been before, a little bit before Build Week, and you were like, there's too many people.
Yeah.
There's so many people. And I'm like, I've never seen Playa this empty in my life. And
I'm just like gun shy.
like, yeah.
Can I go back into my cabin?
Oh my God. I had a similar experience at Tall Ships in St. Pete this year so I worked on a boat that went from Galveston, Texas to St. Pete, Florida.
Can you explain a tall ship festival real quick?
Oh boy. Tall Ship Festival is kind of like Burning Man.
It is
but with
it's the traveling circus of boats.
Yeah, so, like-
imagine a dozen of these ships going from port to port to port for a couple of months.
And during the day, you're open for deck tours, which means that because you're the coolest shit that has ever happened in St. Petersburg, Florida for like 8 years, you have thousands and thousands of people crossing your deck and like taking self-guided tours of the boat and talking to the crew. It does feel at the scale of Burning Man. Like we had 10,000 people cross our deck on Alyssa in one weekend.
10,000
Wow.
Floridians. You
Yes.
are so lucky you didn't get sunk.
Oh my God. Well, and I remember just in the same way that like when I get overwhelmed at Burning Man, I'm like, I just need to go sit in my tent or like sit in my shade and like not talk to anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And my only escape on Alyssa was to like go into my bunk in my cabin because I was one of the few people that had like their own closed cabin.
Right.
Unfortunately, that cabin is on deck. Like it
Yeah.
is a door that goes from deck. So I was like sitting there like in my bunk, just like fuck.
Terrified no one's going to try
Too many
to
people.
open the door.
And then, like, of course, there's
What's
someone.
behind here?
Oh, who's in here? It says crew only. I'm like, leave me alone.
We're crew, right? We're on the deck.
Well, and then they open and they see me like in my bunk looking terrified and sad. They're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
So in these festivals, is that when you steal other people's crew?
Yeah.
I absolutely tried to get one of Ernestine and Morrissey fired their cook. It was actually someone I knew.
Yeah.
And so I'm like over the rail and I see him like walking down the dock. I'm like, hey man, how you doing? He's like, I just got fired. I'm like, oh, bummer, dude. And then an hour later, their captain shows up and she's like, so, you like this cooking job on Alyssa? I'm like, yes. Yes, I do.
We were I was on Sullivan and we were leaving Tall Ships Cleveland. And
What a place to have a tall ship festival.
what a place to leave. I mean, we were docked right next to Brown Stadium and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
That's a long way inland.
Great Lakes, baby.
Lake Erie.
Yeah. You get the same amount of sea time sailing on the Great Lakes as you do like near coastal, like off the coast here.
Yeah, being on an ocean.
Yeah. Inland ocean, baby.
Yep.
Hadn't thought of it that way.
Yeah, except for Lake Michigan, which is the only lake we don't share with Canada. That's America's lake.
That's ours and only ours.
We parked a bunch of youpers up at the top.
Well, so we were in Cleveland, and the big thing that these festivals do is that they organize a race between ports, and that's like the media.
So you're actually
blitz.
racing
Yeah.
other crews the whole.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So you are in regattas.
Yes. Oh yeah. as fancy as you can, like as serious as you can take.
A boat show.
Yeah. A mobile boat show with a bunch of tattooed crust bunks.
Yes.
So one of the other ships, their second mate hadn't shown up, and it was time for them to leave to go to the start line for this race. And they had called the hospital. They had called the police station, and they could not find this person. And the captain was just so fed up. He's like, if you see him come down the dock, let him know he's fired. And he can pick up his shit at the next port.
Ooh.
I was like, all right. I had sailed with that individual and had a much different opinion than him. And as they cast off their lines, we dropped our dock lines to follow him out. I see this second mate come running down the dock, like just woefully. Like, first of all, he got dropped off with two other like gorgeous people that he had spent the night with and had missed his cast off time.
Oh, no.
His morning muster. So the captain's like yelling at him, "You're fired. I never want to see you again. Come back to the next port and get your stuff." And I'm like flinging business cards at him. I'm like, "I've got a job for you."
I feel like there is also a deep shared love of pranks between tall ship crews that I've also seen
In DPW.
reflected at Burning Man and DPW.
Yeah, it's like capture the flag level bad.
How is the current prank culture in DPW? Because I know that capture the flag was kiboshed.
Yeah, I don't
years ago.
I don't notice it as an organized sport. I do see the like pranking and that jokester habit amongst people individually, but not necessarily as a department or team to team kind of
It's probably
level.
best if you're pranking someone to know that person well.
Right.
Yeah, it
Right.
seems the pranks that I've witnessed have been much more like targeted and personal than just like a general crew versus crew kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah, that's bullying. That's bullying.
I realized I was talking with another podcast regular, Brace, at Resto, and I realized that I'd met Brace in 2019 when he was the like butt end of a crew prank at DPW. Because I guess he was working, I forget like what the full story was. He was on special projects or like Burners Without Borders or something. He had some reason to kind of be driving around helping people. And at some point, someone told him that the generator in our village needed to get topped up with fuel. And this was his like special project. So I'm like, I like get back to the village, and one of the like, you know, mayors is like, there's this guy here, and he's like talking about how he needs to like fuel our generator, but he's just got like a jerry can of fuel. And I'm like,
This is perfect.
I'm like,
That is low investment, low stake.
Right?
pranking. Oh, yeah.
and so like Brace has apparently been told that he needs to, under all like any
Do
circumstances,
not come back with any
like,
fuel in that
yeah,
can.
go find this generator with this like jerry can of diesel and like fill it up. And meanwhile, like, you know, our village kind of nightmares are like, who the fuck is this guy?
You're not allowed to
fucking
Yeah,
with
what
our
are you
generator.
pouring into that?
Right? And so it all got, you know, defused quite quickly. But I remember sitting around with Brace, and he was just like, oh man, I'm so fucking over this. Like, because we like brought him into our shade structure and like gave him a beer, and he was just like, can't fucking believe this. This is such bullshit. And like, we didn't even exchange names or like, you know, introduce ourselves. It was just like, oh, you clearly were like, you drew the short end of the stick this night.
It's Brace's turn in the barrel.
Yeah, and then like this year, I was like, wait a minute, 2019, did you like get deployed to fill up a generator in Illumination Village? He was like, motherfucker. Like, yeah, I remember you, dude. Trying to think of good boat pranks.
We had one.
Links,
So
links with the sausages.
No,
Heard about that
I'm
one?
going to start with messing with the new guy. There's a couple of different ones you have. So prop wash is a technical term that the propeller spins in the water, and the agitated water is known as wash. So you go ask for a bucket of prop wash, and you send the new person to go find you it. There's also the ID 10 Tango form, and if you write out ID 10 Tango.
That's a real middle school type.
Oh, yeah, 100%. There's also tuning the radar.
I was going to say radar calibration.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make Sam do this to new hires at Sail Drone.
Yeah.
Because, like, what a perfect application for that.
So you get the new hire into a bunch of aluminum foil to stand off as you are calibrating the radar.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we had one. So this was 3 tall ships traveling in conjunction with each other. And one of the board members put their daughter on board.
Oh, no.
And the captain's like, all right, time to mess with this one. Sends her to go pick up a bucket of prop wash from my ship specifically. This will get real nerdy real quick. She comes over to our boat, and like we're in Westport, Washington, which we're at the end of the docks. Like they're about 600 feet long to get to where the big boats are, and you can only have one big boat on the end of each dock. So she has to walk up to the pier, top of the pier, down to the next dock, 600 feet down to the next boat. Comes on our boat and asks for prop wash, and the captain's like, "Yeah, okay."
I love that everyone just knows, oh, you're being shit.
Exactly.
The captain runs down into the engine room and comes out with like a water bottle full of red liquid, and he's like, "I just want you to know, we have an offset port prop, which is true. Like the prop for some reason was on the port side of that boat, so our prop wash was red. You need to go to the other boat that's down there and get some starboard prop wash. And you're gonna have to mix the two together."
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
So this new person walks back up to the top of the pier, 2 rows over, down the finger dock to the next boat that has in that boat coincidentally had 2 engines, 2 props. And they she explained she had port prop wash and holds up this red bottle. And the captain instantly goes, "I can help you with some starboard prop wash." Mixes some dish soap into another plastic bottle.
Oh, my God.
And this whole joke culminates with she's now got a bottle of port prop wash and a bottle of starboard prop wash. She's like, "I'm ready to return to my captain, having succeeded in this mission."
That is incredible.
They get back to the captain, and the captain's just flabbergasted that the other 2 captains have gone to such extents to color coordinating it properly. And he's just like, yep, that checks out. Like opens up the 2 bottles and just starts pouring them over the back of the boat.
That is incredible. Just the seamless, like everyone bought into this in the same way.
And had no like coordination or direction. Like everyone understood the assignment as soon as it was presented to them.
Improvisers take note. Yes,
Yeah.
and.
Yeah.
There are pranks like this at Burning Man that are usually pointed at the participants, where people will just be like, oh, right, go this way or go that way. Or, Diplo does play at the trash fence. Or
sending people to first camp or the ghetto for.
I love sending people to the gate bar for anything.
Which is so funny because like of all the bars to send people to, like Black Hole's actually pretty fucking friendly.
If you don't mind Malort,
Yeah. that is the one thing. They will.
serve you trash unless they think you are a volunteer.
It really does depend on who's behind the bar
Yeah.
and how crusty they're feeling.
Did I? This last year, I knew the bartender, and I was going to go do our consent talk, and I was like, what I want is like a light gin and tonic. And I know this bartender, and I'm like, hey, can I just have a light gin and tonic? I'm like thinking through my notes. I just want to chill out before I do our consent talk for our camp. And I got a nice light gin and tonic, and I was like, this is great. And then I just forgot that it was a gate bar. And then the next night I was like, hey, can I have a light gin and tonic? And the guy behind the bar just held the gin, like staring me in the eye as he filled my cup of gin and then put a splash of tonic in it. And I was like, I guess I deserve that.
I mean, you also didn't specify which part of that
Was
drink
light.
you wanted to be
Fair.
light.
Fair.
Right?
See, the thing is, it was kind of a dark tonic. If it didn't dilute it, it would be kind of beige.
we actually had a bottle of Malort in our camp, so we ran a little fire art repair shop in our camp this year.
That's awesome. In Illumination Village?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
so cool.
So we basically formalized the thing that, Sam has mostly been doing for the last God knows how many years of like, oh yeah, like you have some issue with your poofer, like come on down. We've got like 18 extra spare fittings that
We know
need
how
for
this works. Yeah.
Yeah. So we kept a bottle of Malort kind of in our stash of all of our propane fittings. So when people would come get their shit fixed, it'd be like, all right, and now we toast with Malort.
I mean, that is a fair, it's like, hey, we did this for you, and now we need to watch you drink this earwax.
So the amazing thing was that like so many people were like, whoa, I've heard of this, but I've never had access to
But
this
have you
because I don't
smelled
live
it?
in Chicago. So even when they like try it and realize that it's not very good, they're like, well, at least I had this experience and I'm very happy for that.
Oh, I'm so excited for this terrible thing that's going to happen to me.
I mean, that is the Burning Man mentality, isn't it?
Right.
It's true. I do get pretty excited for a terrible thing that's going to happen to me every year.
Yeah.
The way that we
So
talk
excited for this one.
the way that we talk about both Tall Ships and Burning Man makes me think that like, does anyone think that we're actually having fun here?
I mean, we're laughing a lot.
Yeah.
Do you, so one of the things I've never asked either of you is how long is the longest you've been at sea?
I guess there's a
Like not going into a port. I don't know what at sea is.
yeah. So I think
No,
that-
you defined it right.
Yeah.
yeah. I feel like there are two ways that people ask this question though, which is like, what's like the longest stint that you've worked on a boat, and what is like the longest stint from like touching land?
That's the one I'm interested in.
Like probably about 14 days.
Yeah, I did 24 days.
Yeah.
Does it
Yeah.
feel weird?
Well, yes. After the third day, it just feels like Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
And by day 14, you stopped counting what day it was.
It's just the next day.
It's just the next. Well, it's not even the next day because when you
the same
operate
day.
when you operate at sea, you work in shifts or what we call watches, and 12-hour periods broken into 3 4-hour periods. So you might have a watch from midnight to 4 a.m. and then you
12
have
to 4 is the best watch.
yeah, and then you have the next 8 hours off, which you grab breakfast, go to sleep, do something, and then you're up again at noon for your next 4-hour watch. So every 12 hours, essentially, out of every 12 hours, you're only working 4. You have this 8-hour period to sleep, rest. Sometimes, depending on the officers, you might do some labor during the day.
or if there's like an all hands call.
Yeah,
in
you
the
have
middle
a
of the night,
meeting or some kind of sail change or some evolution happens. Conditions change. Like they'll call you up on deck. So I have from that, like doing that for 16 years, I've developed this like level of narcolepsy where I will fall asleep. If I don't move for 20 minutes, I'll fall asleep.
You'll just be asleep.
I'll be asleep. And like, you can then just say my name and I will be awake.
Wild.
Yeah.
What is the scariest all hands thing that you've had happen?
You should go first.
I mean, mine are pretty morose.
Yeah. I mean,
Collision, fire, or sinking. You choose.
Wow.
Holy shit.
I have a slightly more lighthearted one because I I've seen some like nasty shit, but the one that like comes to mind first was, again, I was on Chieftain filling in as cook for a transit down the coast. And at this point, like I'd already, gotten my license. Like I wasn't, I was a little bit of supercargo, right? Where like I had a bunch of experience on this boat. A bunch of the crew was very green and very new. And we were going from like Westport to Oakland, I think. So like pretty standard trip down the coast. And I get woken up. So the cook doesn't stand watch on transits. Like the cook and the captain are kind of the only two that are exempt from that 8 hours off, 4 hours on structure.
Because the
You
cook's
have a
got to
different
hit 3
shifts.
meals.
Yeah, because I've got to cook 3 meals, and that's really my only job here. So like they let you kind of figure out your time accordingly. So I'm like in my bunk. It's like midnight, and I get woken up, and I'm like, why the fuck am I getting woken up? And it was the captain, and he was like, hey, so we're under sail right now, and like it's picking up. We got to take in the upper topsail like now, but a bunch of the crew is like not feeling great about going aloft while we're underway. And I know that you can do it, but I don't want to like tell you to do it, but I'm just going to give you the option. If you like want to climb aloft right now, we could really use an experienced hand up there. And like, I'm happy to do it, but it really threw into sharp relief that like, you should never be waking up the fucking cook to go for a sail, right? Like that's not a good position to be in.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is going to happen if like there's an actual emergency here? That's an unsettling position.
You
to be
were
in.
the most qualified person to do this, and you're the cook.
Yes.
Are you feeling that was an issue with the makeup of the crew or the fortitude of the captain?
Yes.
All right.
So I don't know what the realm of going aloft is. I assume you don't have a fall harness on.
You do. There are points where you're not tethered in. And even when you're tethered in, I mean,
You can drop a long ways.
you can drop a long way. You can drop as long as your lanyard, right?
Yeah.
Or you can fall and, hit your head or go like, or turn upside down.
or just smash your leg on something.
Yeah, get
or,
caught
Or get
up.
caught into something.
Yeah.
or-
Yeah. So like the harnesses they're a safety measure, but they're not like
safe.
There's still points of failure in all these things.
Yeah. Wild.
Yikes.
Did you do it?
Yeah, fuck yeah. Of course I did. Because then I got to rub it in a bunch of like green deckhands' noses that the cook was a better topman than
Enjoy
that.
your sandwich, bitch.
Yeah, right? Oh, I'm sorry. You were feeling a little queasy and didn't want to go aloft? I'm going to go furl the fucking topsail and then make your fucking breakfast.
Is breakfast a little simple? Wonder why that could be.
Yeah, it's cereal and milk, bitch.
I'll go with one. So this is Jake's story.
Oh.
We took over this boat, which is derelict here in the bay. Please, somebody rescue it.
Can I say it's over in Alameda?
Yeah.
You can go check it out when you go shop your groceries at Nob Hill.
Yeah, and if you look at it right now,
I know
Is
that
this the one by the
shit.
Safeway?
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is sitting there?
Yeah. So the way it looks today was the way it looked when I got on board 12 years ago.
Yeah,
Wow.
2008,
Yeah,
right?
13 years ago. 2008, yeah.
Yeah.
And we cleaned that boat up, got it going. And like we're like, all right, we're taking it to these tall ship festivals to go like make the owner money and sell this program that depressingly never happened.
What program?
It's so it's involved with the Pacific Trash Gyre, which is a whole nother the giant floating island of trash that's in the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
Really, what we need is sail ships to deal with that.
Right.
The optics are really good, right? If you're like, we're a carbon neutral thing,
Yeah.
going to
Passively collecting trash out of the ocean. Really
It does look good.
does look great on paper with the right person to anyway. So we're leaving. We got on board the boat here in San Francisco, cleaned it up, tested enough systems to make sure we weren't going to die, threw out a bunch of trash off the boat, and then we're like, all right, the rest of the boat, it's the engines work, pumps work. We'll put all the rigging together on the way up to Canada and back down the coast, and that was like how we spent our summer. We spent our whole summer doing that.
That sounds kind of beautiful.
Yeah, it was. It was great. I made $200 a month.
Jesus Christ.
My bad ideas tattoo on my ankle, I gave myself because I realized I wasn't going to afford a tattoo that year. So I did it with a sail needle duct taped to the back of a pen. So we're going up the coast. We're off of California, Northern California. And that stretch of California is known as Gale Force Alley because 180 days out of the year, there's winds greater than 35 miles an hour. Gale force winds.
Yeah.
And we're going into it, which is never the right way to go.
you never want to sail north.
Well,
Like
we
sailing-
were motoring. We were motoring.
So sails down. You're working on getting all the rigging back together, and you're just motoring
at
up.
this point, we only had 8 of us on this 200-foot long vessel.
Fuck
So,
me.
and that's with cook, captain, engineer, deckhands.
And the cook isn't in this case helping you out.
No.
with this stuff?
Was it
No.
Crunch?
No, it was Ashley.
Oh, okay.
But we had our watch was 3 people. Each watch was 3 people. The engineer didn't stand watch because the engine room on that boat was like a level of Super Mario Brothers, where you have to like jump up and down and climb around. And so the boat was built in Poland, operated by a Japanese company until it was thrown out of the country, and is now owned by an American. So every label has a Polish description, a Japanese description, and then an English translation in blue tape.
Is that on the Black Sea?
Where it was built? Yeah.
My brain had Poland like totally landlocked.
So we were pounding through this gale going north, and we were in about 14, 15-foot seas, 10 seconds apart, which is enough for the motion of the boat to go up, slap the top of a wave, come up, punch through the next wave, and then you're doing this like slog of just hitting a wave, losing all momentum, going forward, getting buried under the wave, and then back up. Well, we have sails out there because this is a sailboat, and one of the gaskets, the ropes holding the sail down, breaks, and the sail just goes up,
Oh my God.
starts getting pulled up with the wind.
Holy shit.
We go down underwater, it fills up with water.
Oh my God.
And then like slows the boat down, and just this whole like terrifying thing goes on. And it's me, Irish Jenny, who is fabulously crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And our captain, that was our watch. And we took turns. One of us would sleep in the cabin house while the other 2 were on deck watching everything. So I go wake the captain up to inform him. One of the sails decided to set itself and that someone needs to go out and take it down. He's like, yeah, that's a great idea. You should go do that.
Fuck off.
I'm like, okay, but I need you to get off the harness like bench where all of our safety equipment was at. It was like the
where you're
one part of the
sleeping?
body he was sleeping. So he gets up and I grab a harness and I go out there. Mind you, this is my 24th birthday. This happened on the day. It was my birthday. I was just turned 24.
Oh, my God.
I got a gale for my birthday, the gift you can share with everyone.
I mean, you didn't die. That's a great
Well,
So I don my harness, I go out there and I clip in. I do the actual safe thing and like clip in and walk out onto the head rig, expose the wind and sea, get thrown underwater, have to hold on, bracing for my life underwater.
Jesus Christ.
As the force of the ship going, heaving up and down through the water, get to the sail, start wrestling the sail in going down. Like every third wave, I'm underwater for about 10 seconds.
Oh my God.
And then you're violently, like, that's pretty freaky. You're like, oh, I'm underwater. I just got to hold on. But then you're violently ejected out of the ocean with all the force of the ship throwing you up.
Oh my God.
God.
Yeah, and
What were you holding on to?
well, a giant steel beam. There was some like standing cable and running rigging, and of course the sail I was out there to hold on to. And as I'm wrestling, I was like, I come to the conclusion after about 20 minutes, like this, I can't do it on my own. And I look back and I see the captain coming, and I'm like, thank God, the next relief is coming. As I'm like, he comes out to the foredeck and we start to communicate. The ship plunges into the next wave, and I go down, count my 7 or 8 seconds, pop back up, and I look back and I just see the captain swimming.
Oh no.
And I don't see the boat. I just see the captain doing this as water's like shedding off the ship.
Oh my fucking
And
God.
he
Was the
grabbed-
captain in already?
So the captain was on the ship. The ship was just underneath him, and he like had grabbed part of the ship and was able to like hold on to it as the water shed away. And he was like, wow, this is really bad. He was like,
Again, no panicked voices.
So it seems like this is tough.
I was like, yeah, I really need help. And he goes, cool, I need to grab a harness. Do you have one? I'm like, yeah. He's like, cool, I'll be right back. Walks away.
Oh, God.
Holy fuck.
Ow.
At 24.
Yeah.
Yeah, what were you doing with your life at 24?
Honestly, I was doing challenging stuff, but it was like ensemble generated theater level of challenge. It's like, I have to deal with this person's feelings about their writing.
Yeah,
really
that sounds like you went to college.
Yeah.
I went to sea.
There is a very roundabout Burning Man connection to Kaisei. Have I told you this?
No?
So Sam, my lovely partner, who's been making fire art at Burning Man since like 2007, he met someone through that fire art community whose brother was one of the engineers on Kaisei. And he was like, I got this friend who like does this art at Burning Man and like knows a lot about electronics. Maybe he can help us troubleshoot some of the electrical issues that are happening on this boat. So like it's at Richmond at this point. This must have been they must have been getting ready for Tall Ships 2008.
They continued to operate for 2 more years.
Yeah. So sometime around that time, I believe it was right before 2008. I think that was like the thing that they were trying to get ready for.
Yeah.
And so Sam has this like memory of going down to Kaisei and like basically walking around that boat with a multimeter
And a flashlight.
and a flashlight. And he was the one that told me about the ghost music on that boat. Oh my God. This
Ghost
is
music.
What's
Yes.
ghost music?
there is some like War of 1812 overture that is just playing on some speakers that no one has been able to like isolate or find. So like
Wild.
yeah.
The boat is just eerie. It's doubly so because there's nobody on it, right? Like it's an abandoned
And it's
derelict.
parked next to that weird Safeway.
Yeah,
Knobhill.
Yeah. Knoxville.
it's just it's always has. So it's had 2 deaths in its history. 2 deaths on board. In fact, there's a walk-in freezer that they had to carry both bodies until they reached port.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
At least they had a freezer.
it's creepy. But yeah, the boat itself is just like industrial. It was built in the grand old Polish Cold War era. So and Cold War. Blah, 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 blah. Hey, Papa.
You're doing great. You're doing great, bud.
Yeah. So yeah, the boat is just eerie, quiet, and eerie, silent, and just like doesn't feel right. The entire time I was on board, you're like, yeah, we were doing a great thing. We like caught this boat back into service, ready to go do like this grand historic trash gyre.
And didn't die, technically.
But at the same time, the owner was like doing illegal things that we had the Coast Guard coming down and interviewing us. And yeah, like the whole thing ended bitter and sour at the end.
Well, also, like, the big problem with that boat is that it's still foreign flagged. So, like,
What does foreign flagged mean?
So there's this it's like one of the first laws on the books of the U.S. That says American-built ships have to be crewed by Americans. And then, like, if you were doing
more specifically domestic
trade has to happen
on
on American flagged ships with American flagged crews. So this boat was built in Poland. So if you look at the transom, I think it still says Poland, right?
Yeah.
So like it's a vessel that is not flagged in the US. So you can't really you can't
move stuff on it.
or you can't even take paying passengers on it, right?
Oh, wow.
Because that's cargo. That's just human cargo.
How do cruises work?
Yep.
Well,
You leave the country.
yeah.
No, legitimately.
Yeah.
That's why they always operate where they make a port of call in either Canada or outside of the United States.
In Mexico or somewhere. They need to go outside of the United States.
And then come back.
That's the law that was really fucking up the hurricane relief in
this
Puerto
is
Rico.
the Jones Act.
Yeah,
Jones Act. Yeah.
Part of it is that.
Yeah.
right. Because foreign
other
carriers
part is
couldn't
capitalism.
take relief. Well,
Yeah, well, one of it really is like a protectionism for American job and Americans' interest in the maritime trade.
You know what Americans need is really dangerous jobs that are
Yeah, yeah. It's time to put my 4-year-old in working in a factory.
he's got tiny hands for gold mining.
Those little nimble fingers should be doing something.
I mean, honestly, can he work bringing out chalk at this point?
I'm about ready to sell them to the Empire Mine.
Oh my God.
we just need more drywall in this country.
More
There's a
gypsum.
shortage.
Someone told me that a lot of the gypsum that's being mined at Empire is actually like food grade gypsum.
What do you mean food grade
That was my
Pharmaceutical
question.
grade.
Yeah, or pharmaceutical.
I think food grade gypsum is used in farming. Like when you grow mushrooms, you need a casing material that's non-organic over the soil.
I am slightly relieved to hear that, but I don't totally believe you.
Sailing related question that's not at all related to Burning Man. It might be too nerdy. Are you guys following the resurgence of wind-based shipping? That's something that's interesting.
It's on my periphery. There's a couple of companies that have tried it. And I've always said, you can tell when I've won the lotto and became fuck you rich because I would just build my own tall ship to go do that.
There are a couple tall ships operating like up on the Hudson that are doing like very, very specific local kind of artisan food trade goods. Mm-hmm. And like, you can buy your malt that's like your malted grain that's like grown in the Hudson River if you're a home brewer in New York City and like get it delivered by schooner.
I'm pretty sure I saw one of the those test bed container vessels with the
with the big wind generator.
Yeah, the giant spiral masts.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing with like wind generation for power is that those things have to go really, 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 really fucking fast. And the efficiency drop in that is like very rapid and like very quick.
Yeah, the whole conversation on this, like we have Amazon like same day delivery. And if you want to go back to a time in which you're dependent upon weather as transportation, we need to cut that attitude out of here.
Yeah.
The speed of news, like they can always judge like the progress of humanity or civilization as how fast does it take news to spread around the world. Just 100 years ago, let's go a little more, 140 years ago, it was the 73 days it took to sail around the world. It's just progressively gotten faster and faster and faster.
73 days to sail around the world.
Yeah, during the T-Clipper era.
My partner worked for Boeing for years and did world navigations over and over again in flights in 48 hours. And that's with stopping and people sleeping.
Yeah.
It's wild. The
Yeah,
difference.
there's a couple ways to cheat on that though, because when you go up into the polar region, your longitude becomes a lot closer together, and you can just whip around the Arctic Circle a couple of times, right?
72 days to sail around the world, and is that the fastest or the most consistent?
I can't tell you, but
Yeah.
that is an average time during the tea clipper era when they were taking.
What is the tea clipper?
So the great tea clippers would bring tea from the
India
and the
To-
Asian market to Britain.
to Britain.
Yeah, but they would do it as a global transverse. So they would sail from England down Africa over to India, China area, the Asian region, pick up their cargo, and then sail down and back around through South America and up the Atlantic again.
Do you guys have feelings towards these people that you've been in similar situations of people who were alive hundreds of years ago who dealt with similar? I mean, granted, now you have the ability to call the Coast Guard and you have the ability to
You have the ability to get vitamin C and D from your
you don't need to just eat limes. But do you feel camaraderie with those folks?
You don't have to rely on pigeons.
There's this great book called The Last Grain Race by Eric Newberry. He was AB on the very last voyage of one of these sailing cargo vessels. It was one of the Flying P lines.
Yeah.
And so they're sailing from England all the way to Australia and back and they treated it like a race, right? They were in competition with the rest of the fleet to see who can get there first. And the thing that I was struck by when the first time I read that was his description of crew dynamics and the crusty old bosun that doesn't have any time for any deckhands shit. I'm yeah, I know that bosun.
Yeah. Yeah, in California, they have Henry Richard Dana's 2 years before the mast, which he was an American sailor from Boston in the 1840s, sailed over here to California when it was still the last part of the Mexican era, and he wrote about traveling up and down the California seaboard and doing the coastal trade here. And what was supposed to be a 2-year trip actually lasted 5. But he talks about all that stuff. And I always say that one day I'm going to sit down and write my parallel version of that because I have done the California trade up and down this coast, going to the same ports as him and writing about taking anecdotal stories of my experience. Yeah, but where his is 2 years before the mast, mine's going to be 5 years tied to the dock.
That is such a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah, only if I was motivated enough to write.
Just you voice to text.
With ChatGPT now, anything.
Oh, yeah, just have it right.
Just
write
edit
it for
it
you.
later. My mom would read your book.
Now I'm kind of tempted to go to ChatGPT and be tell me about sailing on the West Coast on a schooner.
Yeah, right.
Have you read the Cappy Ricks series?
No.
Oh, so this is a great, very local kind of nautical fiction series called. It's the whole series is Cappy Ricks. The book in the best book in the series is Cappy Ricks and the Subjugation of Captain Matthew Peasley, which is a great.
It's a hell of a title.
It's a hell of a title, right?
Damn.
And so the whole book revolves around this conflict of this up and coming captain who signs on to work on one of the last sailing fleets out of San Francisco. They're the schooners that are hauling lumber down from Eureka, building San Francisco in the 1850s as it's becoming this
My mom
global-
wants to read this book.
It's so good. And it's all fiction, but it's very rooted in they talk about real boats. They talk about
actual account.
real people. It's very kind of the era. And so the whole book revolves around this up and coming captain who's working in the shipping fleet and the conflict that he has with the owner, Cappy Ricks. And so they just butt heads endlessly, and he sends him up the coast and sends him on the dog shit, nitrate trade tramp steamers going down to like Chile that are like hauling bat guano to San Francisco, like just like the worst of the worst. But it's very colorful writing, and it's very, I mean, he talks about being the captain of the Wapama, which like was a real boat, like has a very deep rooted history in the Bay Area. And as I was reading this, there's this one passage where like Cappy Ricks fires Captain Matt Peasley. And so Matt Peasley has to like pick up a shitty job in San Francisco Bay working for a tugboat company. And so like he gets this job on a tugboat, he's running the Sea Fox, and he sees one of Cappy Rick's boats coming in, like passing Mile Rock, coming into the gate. And he basically just like plays chicken with the schooner in his tugboat until they like are almost up on the rocks and like have no choice but to like accept a tow for money to get towed into San Francisco. So I was reading that, and I was, I think actually this was one of the books that was on my Kindle last year at Burning Man. So I'm like I'm in my camper, and I'm like weathering the rain, and I'm like reading this like nautical history book about San Francisco Bay. And I was like, shit, we got a lot of sailing art cars. We have a lot of like sailboats that are like art cars on playa. You know what we don't have? A tiny tugboat that can just like go out
you need
and like
to
fuck with the Monaco and like
any boat-shaped art car.
I just want to like, press them into the trash bin
Start
slowly
playing chicken with everyone.
until they have no option but to accept a tow back to.
Well, that's when you have your contract in hand.
Yes, exactly.
So good.
So like I'm trying to build that tugboat now. And
I'm all in on your tugboat art car.
Yeah, if you need some mechanical assistance, you give us a shout.
we bought the base already.
Yes.
So like we bought the base.
Fuck yeah.
It's an old Taylor Dunn Bigfoot cart. So it's one of the electric utility carts.
Oh hell yeah!
They can like tow a fucking lot. Like that thing can tow like 10,000 pounds. So yeah, I'm slowly turning it into a tugboat. But like that's like the line of kind of that historical appreciation. I'm like, I just want a tiny tugboat to go fuck with boats.
We
burning
need
in.
to introduce you to Front Tug. Yes, he is. Front Tug is a dear friend who pulls out cars. From
Front tug doesn't sound like a person that pulls out.
Yeah.
Just putting it out there.
Front Tug does car rescue in Colorado.
Wilderness search and rescue.
And just became a ranger and wanted to immediately be like a Captain Hook ranger because has the car, has all of those things and understanding. I feel like this is right up his fucking alley.
I was just thinking that like that's a perfect cover for an art car search and rescue vehicle.
Ooh.
A tugboat. That's so cute.
But it's got to be the right scale, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's got to be small, which is why we bought kind of the
Small and powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gotta make sense when it's next to the Monaco.
Mm-hmm.
But then I feel like what we need then is we need a like shipping container art car / boat. I don't know how we ever get a like sideways fucking
A cargo vessel boat.
Yes.
No, what I'm now imagining is just a cargo, like a shipping container with wheels and like a mast. And it's just a block that like moves across playa.
We do have a lot of shipping containers out there. I feel like this is so easy.
I know a guy with shipping.
Throw wheels on one of your living compartments.
Oh my god, that would be a funny art car too. It's just an LB on big old wheels. Yeah.
They have to be big wheels. It has to either be like it has to either look like a shipping like a LC on like a monster truck platform or like an LC with the wheels completely hidden on the inside.
It's just a shipping
It's
container.
just a rolling shipping container floating across playa.
I love that so much. My closest experience of this is I worked out on
Treasure Island.
not Treasure Island, on the prison.
San Quentin.
Alcatraz.
Alcatraz. I did work in San Quentin, but that was as a teacher.
Different job.
While I was doing event production, I worked on Alcatraz because you have to go over there overnight and not interfere with the tourists.
Yeah.
To set up a giant party for T-Mobile, obviously. The federal government needs T-Mobile's money to have a party over there. The only time where I've run to catch a boat, because if you don't get on that fucking boat, you're not part of the crew who's working overnight over there. On our way back in one morning, they pulled right alongside one of those giant shipping containers, like while the sun was rising. It was just like the first time I'd ever really like understood
The scale.
of shipping that is those things. Like it was like, oh, this is a city block that is 40 stories tall.
It's one of the fun things about taking the ferry out of Jack London Square is you go right through the port. It's just towering over you.
That's so I worked on the boats that run to and from Alcatraz.
Oh yeah,
I
I felt so lucky because the company that was putting up the party got people to drive them in and out that were the same people who did the normal ones.
Yeah.
So it was still the tourist ferry boat. It's just we're leaving at 9:30 at night and coming back at 4:30 in the morning. And the human who is driving that boat was just like, hey, let's get closer. Like, you guys want to see this?
Hell yeah. Well, you also have to realize, like, that is the most interesting thing that those boat drivers have done
In
their
ages, yeah.
Because, like, that boat, you're just, like, moving. It's a glorified school bus. It's the same 15-minute run back and forth every day. And you were packed to the fucking gills with tourists. Those boats hold 500 people. It's like it's a nuts, like the COI on those boats are like insane. Like
You call them head boats because it's paid by the head.
Yep.
One of the coolest things that happened when you talk about park rangers is, so that's a national park.
Yep.
And we had a guy who was our park ranger. He has to be there the entire time we're loading in and out, who's normally living up in the Alaska wilderness, breaking down fucking like deer antlers for mouse feed so that tourists don't steal it. Who barely talks to human beings, is now sitting on this island all night, talking to a bunch of like theater techies, setting up lights and stages.
Oh my God.
And he's like, hey, you want to see he took us into where they cremated bodies.
Yeah.
And he's like, you want to come? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And he's like, I have nothing to do. I'm bad at talking to people, but you guys seem really interested in this, so let me take you in here.
We got the like behind the scenes tour while I was working there, and like we got to like go into the lighthouse and like
Why did you work there?
Why did I work there?
Yeah. What was the?
Because I needed to make money working on boats.
Totally. But so you were doing the ferry back and forth, and the park ranger was like, "Let me show you all the shit."
Yeah. So like I worked there for 9 months.
Oh, wow.
And I only stepped onto Alcatraz Island 3 times.
Oh, man.
Like we were just
going
running
back and
boats.
forth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because like you really are just like getting as many people as possible on and off those boats as quickly as possible. It is crowd management and like traffic management in a way that like, look, Gate thinks that they move a bunch of people, but like, okay, real talk.
This coming from the person who's wearing a Gate sweater.
Yeah, I know my own
Talking
bullshit.
shit while wearing the merch.
Actually, one of the best people that I worked with at Gate this year was this older woman who was like, "Oh, I'm an AB on the Alaska State Ferries. I know what to do with cars and how to direct traffic." I'm like, "Yeah, that's like your only job."
Also, you have very polite people who are waiting to know how to get on the boat instead of drunken high people who have no plans for how they're going to land on playa.
Yeah, right.
Oh man, oh man, the earnestness and like level of excitement that I got to experience working the lanes at Gate was like beautiful.
You're selling it to me. So this has always been my problem with Gate. I'm just like, if I'm going to go out there, I don't want to be the border patrol. I don't want to be like the.
That's perimeter.
Yeah, that's perimeter.
I didn't realize you guys separate from each other.
You've seen the sticker, right? That says ACAB includes perimeter. Not gate, but perimeter.
I love that.
I don't know who made those stickers, but like,
bless them.
I just, if you like open call, if you walk up to me at the black hole and say, I'm the one that made ACAB includes perimeter, like, I'm going to make sure that you have the best night that you've had at Burning Man ever. Like, that is, that is literally the funniest shit that I saw all year.
Fantastic.
So that's always been my disagreement with Gate. Also, like, I don't want to try to find people sneaking in. I would rather people sneak in. Like, if you are in that, so this
You
is
can always be the gay volunteer that just scans the ticket.
who
Yeah.
who was it this year that worked on Gate? Who isn't Brace? Who is
It narrows it down to
Break-
under 700 people.
Yeah, Brace is gate.
Permit?
Permit, yes.
Permit, who works on gate perimeter and exit, and he on his hat, which he left at our camp because we got him a bit drunk, that he had patches for every time he did or did not get to sneak by gate. Like that was I got by or I did not get by in their own internal challenge to each other.
I didn't know Gate did pin testing.
Which is
Yeah.
one of my favorite things about them. I liked that a whole lot.
I dig that. I guess like the thing that I appreciate, and so this was also my first year working gate, which was really funny because like I showed up for my first shift and they were like, "Wait, you're a new blood? We like, you know everyone here." I'm like, yeah, gate. I'm very gate adjacent.
Gate adjacent.
I've been gate adjacent for many years.
Yeah, I've never worked Gate. I know all those homies.
But the thing that I like, the thing that I actually really like about Gate is that like you get to kind of like escalate or de-escalate as appropriate. And
That's
like
a lot of ranger speak for gate.
but like 90% of the time you're trying to just like solve that problem and like
Yeah.
you
Get
know
them in there.
and just like
Yeah.
get fucking people in.
Yeah.
And like, especially this year, so I guess like my favorite version of this was this year, we had a bunch of people who were just like handing us tickets that were like, we couldn't sell this.
This
right?
is a weird year for tickets.
Yeah. So like I was like, I don't really know what to do with this. So like every
Other
time
than
it
giving
happened,
them out if people don't have them.
right. So like every time it happened, I would just like go to whoever the supervisor or the lead was and be like, look, I don't know, man. Like, here's some valid tickets that I just got handed. Like, I'm gonna go back to the lane and like, I guess here, like, have some magic tickets. And so I got this this car full of kids in my lane, and they were all tribal members. They were all like enrolled tribal members, and they rolled up and they were like, "Hey, we didn't know that to get a free ticket through our tribe and through our tribal registration, we didn't know that you have to like register for that before, right?" And so they're like, "We don't have tickets. Like, here are all of our tribal IDs, but like, we don't have tickets."
And they just sat through gate line.
And they
Well, thankfully we have tons of them right over here.
well, right. So like they had gotten shifted to like will call, and then like will call sent them back,
Oh.
and then like they'd already been in line for like 2 hours, kind of like trying to do this the right way, and they were like, I don't know. They just sent us back in the line. Like these are our tribal IDs, like whatever. And so I called over the lead and I was like, look, there are these like 4 kids that I actually really want. Like, if anyone here, if anyone
I
to
would
show
like
up without a
them to
ticket,
come in to this
like
event.
we ought to let them in. And we're like, yeah, well, here are 4 tickets, right? Like, here are 4 tickets that like have been handed to us over the last, like, congratulations. These are now these.
That's
Yeah.
fucking
Here's your
rad.
miracles.
And yeah, and like that's, and I mean, like, I don't think there's anything like wrong with that.
No.
No,
No, I
there's
think-
everything right with that.
So that is like, those are the problems that I really like to solve as a part of just being that like boots on the ground level of gate. But also, if you show up with a fucking feather headdress and attitude, your ass is sitting in D-Lot for hours, right? Like, I will absolutely use that power too.
Hell yeah.
This is the reminder, don't piss off Gate. They will put you in D-Lot for no reason
That
whatsoever.
is enculturation.
Yeah. Fucking be in our culture or don't. Mm-hmm. All right. I have to
On board
pee
our,
so
our
bad.
values. That's okay. We're like way over our target time.
Oh, wow.
It's-
But what I want before we wrap up from both of you is your summation argument about your thesis. Why are sailors the best burners?
I'll go first. So sailors work in an environment where the resource scarcity, all the resources you have on hand will be all the resources you have until the next time you reach port, where you're able to find the next cache of resources. Mm-hmm. You know, so if you're 250 miles offshore with a boat that only moves 8 miles an hour, you're not going to be home anytime soon or to a hardware store. So you get very inventive. You either get into the mindset of I'm going to hoard everything or I'm going to make everything. And it's usually a blend of the two where you're like, oh, I have this water pump. It needs an impeller that fails pretty frequently. I'm going to have 3 impellers for that water pump. And then you're like, oh, but I also know that this valve doesn't quite work, so I need to like jerry rig and put like a stick in here and like wiggle it open, get it cracked just enough for it to catch a prime, and then I can open it all the way up. Like you learn the interest, you learn how to just like the finesse of working with something along with the practical needs of something.
How to both correctly prepare and improvise.
Yeah.
So there's no way a sailor is going to be like, oh, I don't know if I've got enough food to last the next 36 hours. I better hike 5 miles through the mud to the road.
Well, see, that's also the other thing with the sailor mentality. There's always a sailor always believes that they can go find what they need when they need it, right? Like they won't be hesitant to walk out and be like, I'm just going to go ask the next random stranger if they have 10 packs of cigarettes, a mojito for me. And then, like, the next stranger's like, no, I've only got 1 pack I can give you. And the sailor's like, well, that's 19 more people I need to ask. The gullibility and, like, the optimist that a sailor is always like that.
I think there's a willingness to make things work that
A willingness to be uncomfortable that something works enough but isn't perfect.
You know, I'm one of those kind of people that I can only have fun at a party if I'm working, if I'm doing something useful. And I think that is a hallmark of like some of the best burners that I know and some of the best sailors that I know, where they're always trying to like make things better. They're always trying to like build a better system or like, you know, share tools and resources. Like there's just a willingness to make things work and recognize that even when shit gets uncomfortable or hard, like the work is the process, and like the work is the fun in this. And it wouldn't be fun if it was easy.
So no shade to sparkle ponies, but dust donkeys are the best of.
Oh God, is that what we are? We're just donkeys.
Man.
I've only adopted it because Brace bristled so strongly at it. I found a Reddit post where someone's like, well, what's the opposite of a sparkle pony? It's a dust donkey. And the very first comment was from Brace going, no, please not.
I love Brace, but I think Brace needs to spend less time on Reddit. Brace, if you're listening, I love you, but like, log off.
We all need to spend less time on Reddit. It's bad for us.
What, you mean I don't get to like argue with everyone about the moot map on the Burning Man subreddit?
Oh man, Frog Camp getting so much shade.
Vampire Empire. What happened?
It's hard to get rebar out of mud.
Yeah.
Who uses rebar anymore?
Do you know how hard it is to find the right size lag bolts?
Really?
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
really hard, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
you can buy them in like commercial quantities,
Yeah,
but I don't need 100.
that's what I just did.
Buy 100 and share them to all your friends.
Yeah, how many do you need?
No, at this point I'm set. But
You can't see this, but right now Popeye is opening up his trench coat and just has lag bolts upon lag bolts.
what do you like? 10s,
Yeah.
12s?
I got
You a
some
fancy
18s,
man? I got
like-
some 14.
Oh yeah, I got those 516s. You want those 516s? It's like that scene in The Wire where they're like shouting out the
Like a-
different crack.
Like I said, when you're a sailor, you get into the habit of either having exactly what you need in multiples or coming up with the opposite.
Maybe that, like, to get back to your question, maybe sailors and burners are both really good at hoarding in the right volume and type, right? We were like really good selective hoarders.
Yeah.
Like, I will never have to buy another black and yellow bin in my life.
Oh no.
That's a fact. I've seen it.
or a hydro bladder.
Oh
I
God.
don't know that I've used one in years, but I must have 4.
Hydro bladder?
Yeah.
The fuck is a hydro bladder?
No, a camelback.
Oh, the camelback
Yeah.
thing. Okay. I was like, is this some weird kink thing that I'm like not?
It's not weird. Don't shame it.
It's only a kink thing depending on what you fill your hydro bladder with.
Absinthe and ice.
Oh,
Wow.
That loots.
yikes. Does it loosh in the tube?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm into it.
Yeah.
Look like you're drinking milk.
But then you can only use that for absinthe forever.
Nah.
You could use it with champagne. Then you've got Death in the Afternoons in your hydro bag.
I don't know if I want to be sucking bubbly champagne from my.
Have you tried it?
I've not, and I don't think I will.
Plasticky. Glad I went with the Dom.
Oh, VC or nothing, baby.
I was actually thinking about finding a case of champagne to bring this year so I could make Death in the Afternoons
Oh,
for the
yeah.
listener party.
Champagne is actually my favorite thing to drink on playa.
On Playa.
Oh yeah,
It's my favorite. Oh, here's a sailor story. So there was one year where I got addicted to champagne and oysters sailing the New England coast in the spring.
Oh no.
And I closed out a cafe in Lunenburg, Nova Scotia on Mother's Day. I took the crew out, and $700 later, we drank them out of appropriately priced champagne that the next bottle was $150. And I was like, nope, we're done. We're closing our tab. And the owner came out and was like, I would really like you to stay. Do you mind like trying some of these dessert wines? And I was like, yes, send out whatever you would like for us to sample. And she brought out like 5 dessert wines. And I told the crew, it was like, grab the bottles and cheese it.
In like Nova Scotia.
Yeah, and they're just like they all grabbed bottles, didn't even bother pouring glasses. They just started lipping each bottle,
Oh,
passing it
God.
down the line, and they were like, "Thank you very much. Have a good day, folks." Walk.
Have you ever been to Blaine, Washington?
Yeah, of course I've been to Blaine.
Have you been to that little oyster shack?
Yeah.
Dude, that oyster shack is the fucking best.
Yeah.
It's like a mom and her son. The son is the oyster fisherman. It's like a wooden shack about the size of this studio. And like he goes out every morning and like plucks the oysters from the oyster beds. And you can get them like 4 different ways. You can get them grilled or raw with like 4 different sauces. And then like they've just got like a wine and beer license. So you get like super cheap wine and like 4 dozen oysters for like $20. So they're like from right there. It's so cheap. Oh, it's so good.
The bounty of Washington.
Yeah, if you ever want to feel like a rich person and get the gout, live on a seafood diet. It's actually really cheap if all you're doing is harvesting it yourself.
Yep.
My brother got the gout just by eating nothing but pepperoni pizza in his freshman year of college.
I love
It
that.
only took a year?
It's not just for the rich.
Yeah, I love that gout used to be the like, like King Henry, right? And now it's like, well, I have the internet and like a debit card, so I can just eat pizza whenever I want.
The only thing I like to eat is pizza. So gout.
Woof. Fuck. Should we do a quick rundown of your sailor tattoos? Because you do have some of my favorite sailor tattoos that
Do
I've
I
ever
have
seen.
actual sailor tattoos? I have a tramp stamp.
I haven't seen your tramp stamp. I feel like I would like to see your tramp stamp.
Pants on or pants off?
Your call, buddy.
Yeah.
Your tramp stamp display.
Oh, we're gonna need a picture of this as well. Oh my god, your tattoos are so good.
I'm just going to preface this like, I haven't paid for any tattoo in my life.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's some solid free work.
Yeah, they're all done by family, friends, and high school friends.
But where's your tramp stamp? This is your front. That is your back.
Is it your schooner bum? Yeah.
Yeah, no, that is a sailor tattoo.
So also like
Yeah, I need the whole look.
scooter bum is kind of like a it's like dirt bag. It's like the same word as dirt bag, right? We're like
Yeah, my tramp stamp, I paid 2 records and a band sweater.
so like
This man has tug life across his tummy.
if you're a schooner bum, you can call other people schooner bums, but like if you're not a schooner bum, don't call someone a schooner bum, right? In the same way that like I can call people dirt bags because I am a dirt bag, right? The fact that you have schooner on your bum is just
It is a
Same thing with
schooner bum.
DPW. If you're DPW, you can say, "Hey, you're DPW." But if you're not, be careful. That's an insult.
No, it's more like if you're in DPW, you can say "fuck you, khaki,"
yeah.
but if you're in gate, you can't.
Are there sailors who would be offended if you called them schooner bum? Like,
Yes.
I'm better
Absolutely.
than that.
Yeah, so if you were like a sailor that worked like exclusively on square rig vessels, you never want to be associated as a schooner bum because schooners were more of coastal traders, short distances, close to port, where
Not 24 days at sea kind of folks.
well.
Some of them.
24 days at sea is actually not unreasonable for going from like the southern part of our country to the north.
But you're not in the deep waters.
You're not in the deep waters, you're close to shore, you have options.
You're a borderline landlubber.
Where a square rig sailor is like, yeah, I'm gonna be at sea for 7-8 months at a time without touching land.
Wild.
Yeah, they would never want to be known as a schoonerman.
So this is one of the follow-up questions I didn't manage to follow up on.
Editing.
You go crazy, like in extended periods of time with no like touching land, no sight of land. Like, does it do something to your head?
Yes. From my observation, yes, is in the fact that it's like after a while you don't have new stimulus other than the dynamic weather, which in certain parts of the world, like you could be in the tropics, which it's actually pretty stable and is
Lovely and nice.
yeah, every single day is just a gentle 25-mile-an-hour breeze with gorgeous sunsets and sunrises.
Aw.
And white puffy clouds, and then a hurricane comes. But why are you there in hurricane season? Yeah, and you kind of just get into this like sense of like, oh, nothing's gonna change. It's Groundhog's Day. It's the same. There's no new stimuli, and you kind of you yourself act funny.
In what way?
And in a way that you're just like different. You're like, because you're looking for something different. You're looking for some kind of stimulation that is not what you've experienced over the last 3 days. So like you're like repeating songs to yourself or changing lyrics to songs, and just like everyone gets a little bit different and gets silly.
Okay, now I can see why ADHD might not be the best neurological set for sailing.
But there's what happens to you when you're just on a long trip. But I think there's another thing that this is maybe like the darker side of the ways that I see that like DPW and tall ship sailors are very aligned in like you are doing a thing that almost no one does, right? Like this is an isolating thing.
But you're doing it with people who are also in that realm.
But also, like, after the season, those people leave, right?
Oh.
And, like, I've known a bunch of tall ship sailors who've, like, fallen into that, like, post-season funk and that depression.
Subdrop.
And what tools have we set people up with, is like hard drinking, hard partying boats to like sustain, that drop, right? That like postseason depression. And like you see this in DPW too, where like postseason shit gets bad for people, right?
Oh, yeah.
And like I think that's also like in all the good ways that like sailors are really good at being burners, and like sailors are really good at DPW and like doing all this hard work that's really fulfilling. There's also this other side of it, which like we would be remiss not to at least mention as we talk about this. Like you and I both have friends on both the DPW side and the tall ship side where like, they couldn't sustain that drop.
This is why you're pushing so hard for that DPW plus tall ship synergy. You end one season, you go to the other.
Yeah, that's right.
No
Keep
drop.
Self-employed.
Yeah.
Always high. I mean, always on a high.
On a high.
Always high in the rigging.
Well, like what better seasonal kind of like shift to do? Like 6 months at sea, 6 months in the desert.
Yeah.
You come out neutrally hydrated.
Can I ask you both, as people who have never had particularly normal jobs, what is your nightmare normal job? What is the worst job that you see people do that you're like, I could never fucking do that?
I'm in a lot more corporate meetings than I've ever had to be in.
Popeye, stop being so confident.
It is kind of wild, isn't it?
Look,
Like, wait, who do I work for?
I've spent the last 5 years working for functional and dysfunctional nonprofits.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say that.
But like
Everyone is a mix of both.
explain the job that you would kill you.
Oh, retail.
Yes. Yes, retail. That would kill me too.
But actually, like, I would take a retail job tomorrow knowing that, like, I've built my life to be stable enough that, like, if I got fired from that job, that wouldn't be the end all be all. So, like, fuck, I would love to get fired from a retail job in 2 weeks.
I'd rather go into be retail, financially unstable, and like attacked by Karens on a daily basis than to go work in the tech industry.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a tough one. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
You're just like when you're doing retail, you're contributing to a particular kind of evil, but it's at this level. And tech, you're up here.
So I'm gonna say I'm probably the person with the most recent retail experience.
True.
And I'll give it retail and customer service and like food service. I'll give it this. It's never a bullshit job.
No.
that's true.
The things that you're doing are things that need to be done.
Yep.
You're never like filling out TPSs and triplets.
Yeah, you guys don't even know the horror of a 9-to-5 office job where you just actually accomplish nothing. You're required to be there.
Yeah, right. Like your goal for the day was to dodge your manager and look busy.
Like have your computer screen look the right way when your manager walks by.
Yeah.
Single worst job I ever had. I won't say that. One of the very worst jobs I ever had. I worked a lot of jobs.
I'm highly unemployable.
I was the receptionist for Ticketmaster San Francisco.
Oh,
Yes.
no.
It was the only office in all of Ticketmaster that had a receptionist. And only because the GM of the office is a proper Englishwoman and thought all offices must have a receptionist.
Hey, how many death threats did you get a day?
I
I
barely got a phone call. Like, this is the corporate office of Ticketmaster. We didn't handle ticketing or anything. This was just like where the suits worked. I had like 4 things in a given month to do. It was the fuck. I finished Thomas Pynchon novels working that job.
Wait, this sounds awesome. I get paid to read novels?
It sounds awesome, but
You are stuck in one place with nothing to do, where you feel like nothing you do contributes whatsoever. One of the things you guys have that a lot of employees do not have is like, if I am not here, this boat fucking sinks.
Yeah, there's instant gratification to your work.
Yeah, right? Like your worth is straightforward. It is right there. Because if you weren't there, it would be very different. Most human beings' office jobs are like, you could be gone and no one would even know.
Yeah.
There was this great piece of graffiti in the forecastle on Hawaiian Chieftain that so the forecastle's like, or I guess the Four Peak, not the forecastle, but it was the Four Peaks. So it was where all the like paint and like spare lines and tools get stored. And there was this like little piece of graffiti scribbled on the like front bulkhead that just said, "It could be worse. You could be in an office." And over the years, people added to that graffiti, and it was like, yeah, but what if the office has free lunches? Do I have
They give me a T-shirt every contract.
What if the offices have free lunches? It's a great shirt.
And there was like running commentary on this, and I was like, "Oh, you guys are figuring out like late stage capitalism as we go, right?"
Yeah, let alone a boat parallels.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you're like, yeah, I get free lunch on this boat. This is great. I also get free breakfast. And dinner.
I get $200 a month and nothing else.
I have Stockholm syndrome. They like give me a day off. I'm like, don't know what to do with myself, so I come back to the boat and sit on the pier next to the boat watching them work because I'm afraid I'm going to miss out on learning something. That they're going to go do something cool that I don't get to participate in.
Oh no!
Well,
Like
I
literally
feel personally attacked.
Yeah, right. I should have made eye contact. I was actually literally talking about another crew member on DPW that is also a crew member from sailing. I was like, "It's your day off. Get the fuck out of here." He's like,
What is our final total of tall ship sailors on DPW as of right now?
"Oh, easy 8.
Yeah.
Probably a dozen throughout history."
So we have 20% of all.
At least.
Yeah. I mean, I can name, well, DPW other teams too. Like
Sure.
This year there was a new person on DPW that came from Tall Ships. They knew a person that was on Temple Crew. One of our crew members from ESD is no longer coming out. It kind of changes.
One question that we didn't ever ask is, so Leeway was originally a part of this. Was he involved in this?
Yeah, if you really want to deep cut Leeway's other nickname.
All right.
Oh no. Is this something that maybe we shouldn't unleash on a podcast?
We'll censor it.
That should be edited. Yeah, but Leeway is a shipmate of ours, and Leeway's been DPW and Ranger over a decade, easy, maybe 15 years now at this point.
Listeners, if you do not know, Leeway is one of the current
Council of Darkness.
heads of DPW on Playa and is a delight.
Yeah.
And somehow a ranger snuck into that position and no one was like upset about that. Like
He also is a representative of another extremely niche subculture that feeds Burning Man volunteers, which is
Stagehands, IATSE.
people who've worked at McMurdo Station.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
stagehands and IATSE are a solid part.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's as big as ravers.
Yeah, I pulled Leeway aside on like one of the all crew resto days off. And he was like, I was like, what are you doing today? He was like, I don't know, probably still working. I was like,
Of course.
no. No. We are sitting down and we are watching at least 3 episodes of Our Flag Means Death.
Fuck you.
If you haven't seen it, and like, I just need you to like sit down and not work. And this is like the only way that I can conceive of that like you won't work is if you're like, engrossed in this like gay pirate drama.
I love that
redundant.
for Leeway, and I really appreciate that you were there for him in that moment.
Well, he like offhand mentioned that he hadn't seen it. And I was like, oh, I'm fixing this.
How could you have missed
Fixing this.
You miss this by living in Gerlach most of the time.
Yeah.
He lives in Portland most of the time.
Yeah, he lives in Portland. He's only out there for 2.5
I'm not
months.
shocked that that's important.
only 2.5 months.
Listen,
Does he have a regular job, or is this his full
He's in the
full
office.
time.
It's a full-time job now. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
We got hired at the same time. It was really funny. We were going through our like orientation together, and I was like, "Oh, hey, buddy!"
How did you know him before?
From sailing. I've known him for 15 years before I came out here.
What did he do in sailing?
He was our ship's education coordinator
Was he also on the Evergreen College?
No.
Oh,
He came before
Did
the
you go to
Evergreen program.
Oh, okay.
No.
Yeah.
I didn't go to college.
Yeah. I understand
went
a
to
lot of
sea.
You went to
sailors
sea.
might have come from Evergreen.
Well, they had we were just talking about this last night.
Yeah.
Evergreen had a course in what was it? Finding
It's
yourself.
called Discovering Yourself.
Discovering yourself.
That is a like total ever. That could be a major at Evergreen.
Well, so
Our
undergrad's major.
our ship was part of the program in the 102 session, which means they had gone through a semester of something else before they came on board our ship.
so they had not found them. They had tried to find themselves.
The first one should just be called "Looking for Yourself."
They made an attempt to find themselves and then found themselves on a tall ship. And the irony is that like some of the best sailors from those boats were people
Came
who
from the
From that
program.
program. And I was like,
Yeah.
well, fuck, I guess you found the only thing, bud.
And you didn't finish your college degree.
You know, growing up in Portland, you're already like 1/5 a sailor.
As a college educator, I would say most of undergrad should be looking for yourself. Mostly what they find is I don't like any of this.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like
Just
mostly what they
existential dread and
Yes.
the reality of society.
it seems like what most of the people from that program found is that tall ships are more fun than college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just like dropped out to pursue a career at sea. But
Well, I mean,
career at sea.
at college, the worst you're going to ever experience is a sock on the door of your dorm room. On a tall ship, you could get fucked right into if you're on the lower bunk.
oh god.
Don't ever pick the lower bunk.
Always be on that upper bunk. Always be on that upper bunk.
Show up early, get an upper bunk.
Or the athwartship bunks.
Yeah, no one wants an athwartship
I
bunk.
love the athwartship bunks. Are you kidding me? You're in a little coffin.
What is an authorship bunk?
So, an athwartship bunk, if you're thinking of a boat like, four, like here's the bow and here's the stern, most bunks kind of go
Face
in line
forward and
almost
aft.
forward and aft. So, like,
Your head is towards the waves.
your head is towards the front or towards the back. This is a preference that people have, and like one is right, one is wrong.
That's like toilet paper.
Head forward or
Head
head
forward,
up?
always.
Yeah, head forward.
Yeah,
Thank
always.
you. That is the only right. That is the only right.
Forward, upper bunks.
Yeah.
Like, give me as far forward and as upper. If I'm not sleeping back aft, get me high and forward.
But athwartships are the bunks that run not fore and aft, but perpendicular.
So you're rocking side to side.
Yeah, but usually they're like, because those bunks are trying to like kind of fit into some available space, they're like, at least on Chieftain,
They like shoehorn you.
they're like shoehorn bunks where like it is impossible to fall out of those bunks.
Oh,
So like you're in a little coffin with like no light.
Oh, so you can just roll around in this coffin.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that's the thing they don't tell you when you're at sea. Like, oh yeah, you can go to sleep. You're off watch. There's no obligation now. You can go to sleep. We'll wake you up if anything happens. Well, that involves you trying to fall asleep while every axis, X, Y, and Z, are moving.
Yeah.
And like you are like physically going up, down, left, right, like backwards, sideways, like listening to all these sounds, people coming in, like someone has to like lift up a bilge hatch, check a bilge in front of your bunk, and like slam that down. It doesn't fit right because it's swollen, because it's wet and you're underway. They got to stomp on it a couple of times. And they're gone. And then the next person will be by 45 minutes later to do the exact same fucking thing.
Do you wake up just dropping several feet head first?
If you're in the right position,
Yeah.
right? Like that's why I
Those-
said like
the
forward, upper
forward,
bunks.
upper, yeah, the
Because you go
anti-gravity
into
chamber.
a wave,
Yeah.
and you definitely do that. Like I have definitely woken up midair, as the boat drops out underneath me, and then like land down back into my mattress, and like the boat kind of does this little like wiggle after hitting a wave like that, and you're just like, oh, we're good.
That's
Yep. And I am back asleep.
Yeah.
that's when hospital corners on your sheets become really important.
Oh, you think we have sheets? That's
Oh,
so
here's
cute.
a good one.
You got sleeping bags?
Oh, here's a good one. So I had to port I had the starboard forward upper bunk.
Was this on
Links on
Or
Links.
Links?
And Links has like this designed foredeck that just funnels water right down into the crew quarters.
Oh God.
And you had to time when you took a wave. After a wave had hit you, you would open the hatch, climb down the ladder, and then close it before the next wave.
Oh my God.
Because it would literally just go right down into the crew quarters. And the starboard forward upward bunk, which was my bunk, was right behind the ladder. So I had a shower curtain rather than a privacy curtain. It was a shower curtain, like plastic shower curtain.
Like, please don't spray water on me.
Right, because it was behind that ladder. And then I had diapers duct taped to the overhead where there was leaks through the deck, and they would collect it. And we were going north to south, which is always, again, not the way to do it on the West Coast. Around Point Conception down by San Luis Obispo and Morro Bay.
Point Conception?
Point
Oh,
Conception. Oh, yeah. It's the roughest
the
spot.
horn
on
of the West
western
Coast.
United
Really?
States,
That's
yeah.
the furthest out point by San Luis Obispo?
That's
It's
where
the
California
worst weather.
It's
turns the corner.
Vanderburg Air Force Base is like right there.
There's a port there?
Well,
There's Avila Beach,
Yeah,
which is a big
Avila's
harbor,
right,
and then
yeah.
Morro Bay is just north of it.
yeah. The Point Conception is south of that.
Point Conception is south of Morro Bay,
Yeah.
but north of Avila Beach. Yeah. Fact.
Let me bring out my chart.
To the charts.
Google it.
Bitch, I might be.
So we were sailing. Our captain was Jones, and he was like, "Oh, we're going to sail around Point Conception." And it was like gale force winds. And we were going to like 120 miles offshore in the storm. And we would just get our asses handed to us as we were like sailing out through this weather.
I was right, by the way,
Oh, good.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Congratulations.
because Avila is there, and Conception is there.
Oh,
Yeah.
congratulations.
My grandma lived in Pismo Beach, right next to Avila. So I'm like, wait a minute, I know this.
And depending on which tack we were on, we were either above the point or below the point.
Oh yeah.
The upside to this boat is that it had been privately owned by a millionaire previously. So there was like some really nice, like high thread count Egyptian silk sheets that were left on board. And I just found the last set. And after 5 days of being in the storm, I was like, changed my sheets, put brand new silk sheets down, the last like clean set on the boat.
Do they even have sheets the size of that like tiny bunk?
Yeah, it's a sea berth, so it's 28 inches across and 6 feet long.
It's like a cell sheet.
Yeah, and you can fit 3 people in there comfortably.
With the right attitude.
As long as you're comfortable with each other, it'll be comfortable for all.
I like your genitals on there.
So I just put these new sheets on. I took my shower after my watch, climbed into my nice, warm, dry, new sheet bed. And one of those diapers, the tape finally gave up. And it was the one over my head. And it slapped me right in the face.
How romantic. A sheet of diapers suspended above your head.
I was just like, there's no point anymore. I'm going to live cold, wet, and unhappy, uncomfortable for the rest of my life. And I
This is my
literally
life now.
put my wet clothes back on, stood up there, and went brooding. Like, I'm a jovial fellow, but I brood. And when I brood hard. You could tell, you're like, oh, Popeye looks upset. You're like, the watch officer, my friend, comes up and he's like, what's the matter? And I was like, there's no fucking point anymore. There's no point. Why should we have anything nice on this boat?
That's so funny. I've definitely heard Ryan Down say the same kind of thing.
Yeah, he was on that trip.
Of course he was. Fuck.
Thank you, Ethel. Thank you, Ethel.
We hope you enjoyed that. We are hopefully already on Playa right now, not getting emails, not accepting interviews.
Beth, this is coming out on fucking Tuesday.
Oh, fuck.
This is right before we go to Burning.
God damn it. So
1 week left. 1 week to pack your shit.
we're packing.
Making our lists and packing.
Dealing with the mold. But it's a good time to remind all you guys, so you can put it on your calendars, about our listener appreciation party. That's right. We are going to be meeting with you all again. This will be our
Not meeting.
6th year. 2 off. 6th, 7th year.
Years don't matter.
Is that right? Let's see. We did 16,
It's all one
17,
party.
18, 19, 22, 23. Yes.
This
You're
will
right.
be
No,
our-
this will be our 7th.
This will be our 7th listener appreciation party. And as you all know, 7 is an arbitrary number.
Nice.
So come and join us.
At Lamplighters Bar, which is on Esplanade this year.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's on Esplanade. If you can't find it, then, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you are so lost. I hope you have water.
There's only one place on Playa with that many lamps.
It's on Esplanade on the towards the 9 o'clock side of the center of the city keyhole. Is that the right way to say that?
The center camp lump.
The center camp lump.
Nodule. Polyp. Why didn't we name ourselves the Central Polyp?
It's clearly the central swelling.
So we'll be there at 2 p.m. We will have drinks
On Wednesday. 2 p.m. on Wednesday.
2024.
2024, and we'll have drinks and swag, and we would love to meet you and hug you and hear about how your burn is going and talk you into coming on the podcast. So please come say hi.
Boop us on the nose. Give us a little nuzzle.
Yeah.
Ask us how our year was.
And come with your moop bag because we're going to end the party with a moop sweep around the block.
Or since we are at Lamplighters in this scenario, right at 3 is when they start their bartending recruiting for people carrying the lamps. So if you have always wanted to do a big ritual thing where you walk a lot
With
and you
lamps.
wear a silly robe, and
Evocative of lamps.
yeah, and there's a lot of lamp oil involved, which some people like.
A considerable amount of lighting.
You could moop sweep with us, or you could go volunteer with Lamplighters and go be a part of the ritual.
That's true. If you go and put in your volunteer time, we absolve you of the mandatory mooping that all the rest of you are contractually obliged to do. Your contract with us is that you give us your attention and we give you orders.
Oh, not with us, with the listeners. You have a much different contract with us. Accuracy Third is produced by Accuracy Third. Beth, who is the music in this episode by? Late Bus.
Oh yeah, it probably will be, won't it? Yeah, the music is by Late Bus.
If you would like to have your music be part of our little oral history, hit us up at accuracythird@gmail.com, all spelled out. That's also the same place you hit us up for being on the podcast and for just generally telling us how cool we are and stuff. But being on the podcast is the important bit. We need to get your stories in our memory banks so we can share them. That's our thing. It's what we do.
Yeah, if you want to help us out, please consider telling your campmates about the podcast and, pressuring them socially to come on it if you think they're good speakers and are cool.
And this is a great time to remind you that if you've got virgins coming out this year, we have a virgin acculturation guide in the feed.
Vag, if you will.
If you don't want to spend a lot of your psychic energy telling them how to be good burners, we already did that for you.
Link is in the notes.
Also, there's
The
a
description. Link is in the description.
pretty terrible Burning Man 101.
Yes, if you want to hear us.
Get really
loud.
shit can drunk doing the basics of Burning Man. That is there too.
Yeah. our
Yeah, if
survival
you're
guide,
driving
3
from
parts.
farther than 5.5 hours away, you could listen to the entire Burning Man survival guide on your way to Burning Man.
It will be out of date and I will be irritated.
Beth and I are trashed. And my marriage is falling apart.
God, that was was such a time.
Maybe we should listen to that.
Yeah.
Maybe we should have a listening party
Party.
where we just sit in front of a crowd of people and get further and further embarrassed while we listen to the Burning Man Survival Guide.
Oh, that's cruel to both our listeners and ourselves.
Thank you to our patrons on Patreon and Call to Action, Party, Email, Social. And get your Plyaware at burnernarc.com. Burnernarc.com, where you have maybe 10 business days to get a t-shirt with Larry or one of my designs on it or one of the rest of my designs on it. What we got on there? Or
don't know,
you
man.
can
That's all
promote
you.
yourself as, or you can promote yourself as being three-relationship material if you're interested in a three-relationship, or many more designs that will make you look like a cop trying to not look like a cop at Burning Man.
Don't be a cop.
You guys give me the faith, and I know it's not true, that everyone that we talk to at Burning Man is deeply interesting and has all of this, like, history of why they're this weird.
I mean, real talk, I am just as interested in, like, if Paris Hilton ever sits down and, like, sits at this table. Like,
We get her. I spoke to cigarette with her once at the Playboy Mansion.
oh shit, yeah, that's another fucking talk about like weird.
Yeah, so that's a weird
Playboy
crossover.
Mansion.
The tall ship sailor industry used to also work at the Playboy Mansion.
Yes. I would like to point out, before everyone kind of realized that Hugh Hefner was like a fucking creep.
Fair. Yeah, this was
What, in, like,
I'm
2000?
sorry,
like
you mean
1962?
Hugh Hefner has been a professional creep for a long time.
Hugh Hefner also like has done a bunch of shit for First Amendment and pornography. Like I will die on this hill. At one point, he was a good actor, and then he spent too much time in Hollywood.
You know what? I really agree with you. I feel like the beginnings of Playboy were really lovely, and I
so much promise.
appreciate the, like, hey, sex is a good thing, and it's okay for us to be attracted to each other, and isn't this sexy?
Like-
is a good thing.
Like so many things under capitalism, it's extremely mixed. Like,
Yeah.
yay First Amendment, yay pro-sex.
And like so many things.
bad misogynistic authoritarian.
Bad misogyny and like very specific body obsessions, and also hyper capitalist. Like Playboy was never really about the boobs; it was about having the best hi-fi system on the block.
Yeah.
But yeah, the tall ship sailor and Burning Man connection to those old Playboy Mansion parties.
Yeah, we used to be costume characters in the haunted house.
Wait. We need a whole, like, mark this. Tell me about your costuming characters in a haunted house.
This was before my. I've only ever heard about this from Biggie down at Landy.
So one of our shipmates, our sailor friends, their brother owned a production company in Hollywood and would do haunted houses and like thriller movie sets.
Really?
Yeah, and like total B-rated movies. And he was approached by the Playboy, not the Playboy Mansion or Playboy directly, but whatever their publishing company was to do a haunted house for their Halloween party.
Scared boobs.
Yeah. Oh,
Like,
yeah.
oh my God, vag. Like, what is the fear in a Playboy haunted house?
So, well, yeah, we would do like your typical. There was like live sex actors in some of the haunts, and then a lot of the times it was like just you'd be surprised, like people who are famous and aren't used to interacting with the public don't like the public. They don't want somebody to recognize them and be like, "Hey, I'm your friend now." And
I'm thinking in this specific situation, you should be okay with random balls slapping your face.
The grotto is the most disgusting thing on earth.
Oh, there was a whole.
Legionnaires disease.
Yeah, Legionnaires disease breakout.
from this party.
Yes, that's right.
Oh,
That's right. That was
wow.
one of the Halloween
Yeah.
parties.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
God.
LA Department of Public Health like investigated the Playboy Mansion because they were like, so why have 100 people who went to this party gotten like deathly ill? Turns out it's in the hot tub water.
No, it's chlamydia in the air.
Oh,
I am sex positive. I'm sorry for making that joke.
I was pretty universally sex positive until I heard descriptions of Hugh Hefner's late in life sex preferences. And then I realized that there is one kink that I will shame.
Wait, what is that kink?
Having a bunch of 20-year-old girlfriends in your 70s who have dogs that poop all over your house.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, not great.
As he got older in life and lost some sexual functionality, his thing was to get completely covered in baby oil.
Oh,
And have his playmates sort of rub themselves against him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I like that, but
It's the baby oil that's a problem for me.
Yeah.
It's not good on your skin.
as someone who's done 1 or 2 stints of lube wrestling, like it's a lot of work to get off. Like it's an investment.
You gotta go water-based.
Yeah, that was the real problem there.
That's the takeaway
Was that
here.
it wasn't water.
Takeaway.
You know, maybe I worked at Good Vibes too long.
I'm trying to see if Biggie's got any photos on Facebook from those Playboy parties, but he takes too many photos. I'm not going to go.
Yeah, we would make $120 per night. It was only one night. And we would take that $120, walk up to the bar, and it's gratuitous. So after the party was over, after the haunted house was over, we got to go into the party.
All right.
And then the party would close, and we would go back behind stage, get out of costume, wrap up. But me and my brother just started taking our $120, and we would go and pay the bartenders like as their tab or our tip right up front. Like, we want 3 shots of tequila and 2 glasses of champagne each. And like we did that.
Wow.
The first year, like as soon as we were done working, we would shoot and gargle tequila to like cure the hoarseness in our throat.
Oh,
And
so
then
that's what I should have been doing.
I thought
told
you
you
were
earlier.
killing the Legionnaires' disease.
And then
Yes,
so
I am.
this progressed. Like the first year they were like, oh yeah, no problem. The next year, like they saw us walk up, they put our shots out. And then like by the 3rd year of this, they actually stopped giving us like the payment then and there. And like they would send us a check later.
They're like, we've learned our lesson. We know how this ends up.
At this point, the head bartender of the Playboy Mansion is, by the way, it's Chris Farley. He never died. He just kind of like
Just continued on.
yeah,
He
he just
pulled
like
a
faked his
Tupac.
death, goes down to Mexico, probably lives a life of ill repute, goes fishing, and then comes back and works the Playboy Mansion. Looks like Chris Farley on a haggard weekend. But this gentleman would like, as soon as he saw us come off work, he would put out 2 bottles of champagne and a bottle of Patron each for my brother and me. And like, we'd sit there and walk through the party like, oh yeah, we're off work. We're walking around the Playboy party. And then like every time we'd walk back, it would always be like another bottle, another bottle, another bottle. Like we stopped dealing with shots and glasses and they were just handing us bottles across the counter.
I love that you turned the Playboy Mansion into Jub Jub.
Yeah, it was yeah. It got to the point because we did it like for 14 years, and it was like literally we did this one night. My second year, my childhood friend was a playmate, and didn't realize she had been in the magazine and found her at the party, and I was like, hey, what are you doing here? She's like, what are you doing here?
I work here.
I'm working. She's like, well, great. I need someone to drive home with me tonight, which was weird because I fell asleep, woke up at her house, her roommate standing over me the next morning and was like, weren't we in high school together? Hi.
I mean, this further confirms to me that like LA is a very, very strange place where strange things happen to
Yes.
strange people.